our history. And so let's check out how these people have positioned themselves in the past to both buffer themselves from and can control and even sometimes profit from crashes.
Before every market collapse. Not a theory, not a strategy that works sometimes, but a mechanical sequence that the wealthiest investors have followed before every major crash for the past 100 years. 3 specific moves.
3 moves.
Always the same 3. And right now, as we speak in 2025, those 3 trades are being made again by the people who matter most. Joseph Kennedy saw it coming in 1929. 6 months before Black Thursday, he made 3 specific moves that turned the greatest financial disaster in American history into his personal fortune. While the market fell almost 90% and wiped out millions of investors, Kennedy walked away with $50 million.
$50 million.
Tudor Jones made
and you got to remember, $50 million in that day was a lot of money. That was a lot of money back then, especially considering they were moving into the Great Depression.
The exact same 3 trades in 1987. When Black Monday hit and the market dropped over 22% in a single trading session, Jones pocketed $100 million in one day.
$100 million. So we're seeing inflation taking effect on how these people are making money off these crashes.
Michael Burry, John Paulson, and a handful of others executed these identical 3 trades before 2008. They made billions while the global financial system came within hours of complete collapse. These are
billions. So first one was 50 million, second one 100 million, and these guys, billions.
This is pattern recognition. Market crashes follow a predictable sequence. Valuations reach extremes that defy logic. Leverage saturates the system. A trigger event appears. Forced selling begins. Panic takes over. The cycle is mechanical, and because it is mechanical, the response is mechanical. 3 trades, the same 3 that have protected wealth and generated massive profits before every crash since the Great Depression. And those 3 trades are happening right now. Warren Buffett is sitting on over $325 billion in cash.
And he's a pretty smart guy, that Warren Buffett. And if he's sitting on a big pile of cash, that's a pretty good indicator of where we're at.
The largest cash hoard in corporate history. Ray Dalio has been warning about debt cycles and systematically repositioning. Bill Ackman made billions in March 2020, and he is positioning again. The smart money is not guessing. They are following a script that has been proven 4 times over the last century. Let me show you what these 3 trades are, how they have worked in every major.
Here's our current valuations, and you can see what they're talking about. It is going up and up and up and up and up. Now they're going to go on to tell you where these numbers are important. So here's where we're at now.
Crash, and why the fact that they are being executed right now means we are somewhere between 12 and 18 months away from the next collapse. Once you understand this pattern, you have a choice. You can ignore it like most people do and watch 30 to 50% of your wealth disappear, or you can recognize where we are in the cycle and do something about it while there is still time. The reason it is always 3 trades and not 2 or 5 or 10 comes down to the structure of crashes themselves. Crashes are not random events. They are mechanical failures that happen in phases, and each trade addresses a specific phase. Phase 1 is recognition. This is when sophisticated investors...
So I don't know if anyone wants to take notes here, but this would be worth taking notes on. We're in phase 1.
Investors realize that asset prices have detached from reality. The potential gains no longer justify the risks. The math has stopped working. This is when you exit. You convert positions to cash, preserve what you have made, and get out before the destruction begins.
So, I don't know, this isn't financial advice, but it might be time to get out of the stocks. Maybe. What do you think? Let me know.
Phase 2 is preservation. Sitting in cash protects you from market losses, but it exposes you to a different problem: currency debasement and inflation.
Yep.
Central banks always respond to crashes by printing money, which destroys the purchasing power of cash. So you need protection against currency collapse. That's
pretty much what they're talking about doing right now, is starting to print that money again.
Where hard assets come in, gold specifically, something that holds value when paper currencies and financial assets are disintegrating. Phase 3 is profit.
Again, not paper gold, not paper silver, physical gold and physical silver.
You are not just trying to avoid losses or preserve what you have. You are positioning to make money from the crash itself. This requires instruments that pay off when markets fall. Short positions,
Here we go into shorts.
put options, credit default swaps. Bets that rise dramatically in value as the system comes apart. Execute all three together, and you have created perfect positioning. Trade 1 protects you from losses. Trade 2 protects you from currency destruction. Trade 3 makes you rich while everyone else is being wiped out.
So he's saying, get out of the stocks, sell them off, convert a good portion of that to physical metals, gold and silver primarily, and then to short the stocks or puff puts on stocks that you believe will crash. That's what he's trying to outline here.
And then there is an implicit fourth trade that comes after the crash.
Here comes the fourth step.
Using the capital you protected and the profits you made to buy everything at fire sale prices. But we will get to that. First, let me show you exactly how this has played out across 4 different crashes. Trade number 1 is the cash conversion. This happens 12 to 18 months before the...
And this is what he's saying. There's a lot of these people are doing cash conversion right now. They've been doing it for a while.
Crash. It is the earliest signal, the recognition that markets have reached unsustainable levels, and it is time to get out. In 1929, Joseph Kennedy was one of the most aggressive speculators of the Roaring Twenties. He had made millions manipulating stocks through coordinated buying pools. By early 1929, Kennedy controlled massive positions across multiple companies. The market was in pure euphoria. Stock prices had tripled in 5 years.
Sound familiar with what's going on with the AI business? Pure euphoria. That sounds about right.
Ordinary people who had never invested before were borrowing money to buy stocks. Margin debt was at...
Don't do that right now. I don't think that's a wise idea. Again, not financial advice. Do what you want, but I don't think that's a good idea to be borrowing money right now to be buying stocks.
Levels that had never been seen.
Yeah. Jesus says that basically borrowing money from people makes you their slave. So never forget that.
Investors were putting down 10% and borrowing 90% to buy even more shares. But Kennedy understood something most people did not. When everyone is already fully invested and leveraged to the maximum, there is nobody left to buy. Markets do not go up without new buyers. And when prices start falling, even a little bit, all those leveraged investors face margin calls. The broker demands more cash immediately, or they sell your stocks to cover the loan. That forced selling pushes prices lower, which triggers more margin calls, which forces more selling. It becomes a death spiral with no way to stop it. Kennedy knew this pattern. So starting in the summer of 1929, Kennedy began methodically converting his stock holdings to cash. Not all at once, because dumping everything would crash prices and ruin his exit, but steadily and systematically over several months. By September, Kennedy was substantially liquid. The Dow Jones hit its peak on September 3rd at 381.
Here it is right here. Psalms 37:26. He is ever lending generous, and his children become a blessing. Oh, wrong one. Proverbs 22:7. This is the one. This is one we're looking for. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. So there you go. I think that's a pretty good indication that we should not be borrowing money for pretty much any reason. If it's absolutely necessary, there's things in here about why people should be generous to the poor if they are lending money. Lend in interest and take profit. Shall he then live? He shall not live. He has done all these abominations. He shall surely die. And his blood be upon himself. There's lots in here about lending. So, yeah, avoid it. Avoid lending and borrowing. It's not great.
The crash started on October 24th, 7 weeks after Kennedy had already gotten out. While ordinary investors held on all the way down, watching their life savings evaporate over the next 3 years, Kennedy sat in cash,
Mm-hmm.
protected, ready for the next move. Fast forward to 1987. Paul Tudor Jones was running a hedge fund that had been successful trading commodities and stocks. But by
Yep.
the middle of 1987, Jones was looking at market valuations and seeing massive problems. The Dow had climbed from under 1,000 in 1982 to over 2,400 by August 1987.
That's interesting. I'm going to pull up the Dow and look at how we're doing on that front right now.
Gain of 140% in 5 years. Price to earnings ratios were stretched, margin debt was surging again, and there was a new factor that nobody fully understood yet: program trading, computers executing enormous trades automatically based on algorithms, creating instability that traditional markets had never experienced. Jones ran the numbers. He concluded that a crash was not just possible, it was inevitable, and it was coming within months. Throughout August and early September 1987, Jones systematically reduced his long stock position.
So to give you a little context for the Dow, here is what we're looking at on a 1 year for the Dow. And you can see we are up. We are pretty high up. This is an indication that we're looking at a chart similar to what we're looking at here. So we might see a little more peak out here before we go off of the cliff.
He converted everything to cash. He sent memos to his investors explaining that he expected a major crash by October. Not a vague warning, a specific prediction with a specific time frame. October. He raised cash all.
So I haven't been able to find what our specific time frame is this time around, but pretty sure we're coming up on it.
Through September. By early October, Jones was sitting almost entirely in cash and getting ready for trades 2 and 3. The market peaked on October 2nd at 2,722.
Mm-hmm.
The crash came on October 19th, 17 days later. Jones was already out. Now 2008 is more complex because different investors saw the housing bubble at different times.
Right.
Michael Burry started moving to a defensive
This guy was
position
brilliant.
as early as 2005.
There's a whole documentary on this guy you can look up and watch. He was brilliant with this move, and everyone was against him, and he was the winner. You'll see here.
He had been running a fund investing in undervalued stocks, but his research into subprime mortgages convinced him the entire financial system was going to implode. So Burry stopped investing in stocks, he raised cash, and he sat on that cash while preparing for the other 2 trades.
Yep.
John Paulson reached the same conclusion in 2006. He saw the housing bubble. He understood it would destroy the banks holding all those toxic
And this time it's the AI bubble.
Mortgages. So Paulson launched a dedicated fund specifically to bet against the housing market. That required raising cash from investors for that explicit purpose, a focused BET. Warren Buffett, always the most cautious, had been building cash since 2006. Berkshire Hathaway's cash position grew from $40 billion in 2006 to over $60 billion by 2007. When asked why he was not investing it, Buffett said he could not find anything worth buying at current prices. Translation: everything is overvalued. Time to get out. The market peaked in October 2007.
Yep.
By then, Burry, Paulson, Buffett, and others were substantially in cash. When the crash accelerated through 2008, they were protected, which brings us to 2025. Warren Buffett is sitting on $325 billion in cash. Read that number again. $325 billion. That is the largest cash position in corporate history, both in absolute terms and as a percentage of Berkshire's total assets. Buffett has been...
That's pretty interesting. Again, this guy's pretty smart. Look how much money he's sitting on, just waiting.
Systematically selling stocks to raise this cash. He cut his Apple position in half. He has been selling Bank of America shares month after month. He is not buying anything. In his most recent shareholder letter, Buffett stated explicitly...
Hold on, let's go back and look at that.
He cut his Apple position in half. He has been selling Bank of America shares month after month. He is not buying anything. In his most recent...
Today, Warren Buffett converted 1,800 shares into B shares in order to give these B shares to our 4 family foundations. 1,000 shares, Sherwood Foundation. There's not much here.
Recent shareholder letter, Buffett stated explicitly that he cannot find anything attractively priced. That is not a casual comment. That is a coded message. Everything is too expensive.
Yep.
Get out. But it is not just Buffett. Jeff Bezos has sold over $13 billion worth of Amazon stock through 2024 and
selling stock of the company he built.
2025. Mark Zuckerberg has been selling billions in Meta
Here we
shares
go again.
even as the stock hit all-time highs. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, sold company stock for the first time ever during his tenure. Insider selling across corporate America is at levels not.
And when you see the insiders, the CEOs, the people who built these companies, the CFOs, all these CTOs, etc., when you see them starting to make moves, stock moves with their own companies, it's time to pay attention, because these guys know what's going on inside their companies. They know it's their job to know what's going on in the economy pertaining to their company. And so when these guys start making big moves, it's time to start paying attention.
Seen since 2007, right before the last crash. Insider selling is at elevated levels. These are the people running the companies. They see the actual financials.
Yep.
They see the real customer data. They know what is coming,
Yep.
and they are converting to cash. Trade number 1 is happening right now. The smart money is out. This is the exact same pattern as 1929, 1987, and 2008. Trade number 2 is gold accumulation. This happens simultaneously with the cash conversion, usually starting around the same time, 12 to 18 months before the crash.
Okay.
The purpose is protection against currency debasement and inflation. In 1929, after Joseph Kennedy converted to cash, he faced a problem. The government response to the crash was going to involve printing money and devaluing the dollar. Kennedy understood this. So throughout late 1929 and into 1930, as the crash was unfolding, Kennedy was buying gold.
And again, I think that it's not all just gold right now, but silver, I think, is a very important metal right now, because of how much it's needed for industrial processes and military industrial complex, etc.
Not gold mining stocks, physical gold.
Did you hear that? You don't want the mining stocks, you want the physical metal.
This protected his purchasing power while the dollar was being debased through government intervention. Bernard Baruch, another legendary investor who profited from the 1929 crash, made the same move. Baruch had lived through the panic of 1907. He knew that crashes always led to currency manipulation by governments trying to stabilize the economy.
Yep.
So Baruch converted to cash and then moved a substantial portion into gold. When the dollar was devalued in 1933 by Franklin Roosevelt, who reset the gold price from $20.67 per ounce to $35 per ounce overnight, Baruch's gold holdings increased in value by almost 70%.
Wow.
While everyone holding dollars lost purchasing power, Baruch gained.
Take note, people.
In 1987, Paul Tudor Jones did not focus as heavily on gold because the crash was short and sharp. The dollar did not collapse. But Jones still held some gold as insurance against the possibility that the Federal Reserve response would be inflationary. That insurance was not necessary in 1987, but having it did not hurt.
Interesting.
The 2008 crash is where gold really proved its value again. Throughout 2007 and into early 2008, while Burry, Paulson, and others were raising cash, they were also accumulating gold. Paulson specifically made enormous gold purchases. When the crash hit and the Federal Reserve responded by dropping interest rates to zero and printing trillions through quantitative easing, gold surged.
Trillions.
It went from around $700 per ounce in 2008 to over $1,900 per ounce by 2011.
Wow.
That is a gain of over 170% while the dollar was being destroyed through money printing.
Well,
Gold
there you have
surged. Now in 2025, central banks around the world are buying gold at a pace not seen in decades. China's central bank has been accumulating gold every single month. Russia has been buying gold aggressively. Turkey, India, Poland, Singapore.
Wow.
Central banks added over 1,000 tons of gold to their reserves in 2022, the
1,000
highest annual
tons.
total since 1960.
Whoa. Highest since 1967. And that's in tons of gold. And since a lot of things are valued based on gold, that value, it's an intrinsic value.
67. In 2023, they added another 1,000 tons. In 2024, the trend continued. These are not retail investors. These are central banks. The institutions that understand currency debasement better than anyone because they are the ones doing it. Why are central banks buying gold at these levels? Because they know what is coming. When the crash hits, governments will respond by printing unprecedented amounts of money. The dollar will be debased, inflation will surge again, and gold will protect against that currency destruction. Trade number 2 is happening. The smart money is accumulating gold right now. Trade number 3 is the volatility bet. This is the profit trade. The move that does not just protect you from losses, but makes you wealthy by betting directly against the market. This trade happens closer to the crash, usually 6 to 12 months before, once the smart money is confident about the timing. In 1929, Jesse Livermore, perhaps the greatest speculator who ever lived, spent the early part of 1929 building massive short positions.
Interesting.
Livermore understood crowd psychology better than almost anyone. He had made fortunes in previous panics by betting against consensus.
So here's, this is why we might want to think about doing some shorts now.
As 1929 progressed, Livermore accumulated enormous short positions across multiple sectors. He was not just avoiding the crash, he was positioning to profit from every point the market fell. When the crash came, Livermore's shorts paid off spectacularly. He made somewhere between $100 million and $140 million during the crash, equivalent to over $2 billion today. While the entire country was being destroyed financially, Livermore was getting richer by the day. He understood that when everyone is leveraged long and prices start falling, the forced selling creates a cascade that can...
So check this out. In Revelations 3:18, I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich, and white garments, so that you may be clothe yourself, and the shame of your nakedness may not be seen, and salve to anoint your eyes, so that you may see. I'm going to look up the full verse there so I can get a little more context on that.
Not be stopped, and he positioned himself to profit from every step of that cascade. In 1987, Paul Tudor Jones spent the summer building his volatility positions. Jones bought put options on stock market indexes. Puts are contracts that pay off when prices fall. They are pure volatility bets. If the market crashes, puts explode in value. Jones bought puts expiring in October and November, betting that the crash would come during that window. On October 19th, Black Monday, the market fell 22.6% in a single day, the largest one-day percentage decline in history. Jones's put options went from being worth a few $1 million to being worth over $100 million.
Whoa, he over 10x to that shit.
In one day, one trade. Jones made more in that single day than most people earn in a lifetime. And it was completely mechanical. He saw the setup, he made the trade, the crash happened, the trade paid off. The 2008 version of Trade 3 is the most famous because of the Big Short. Michael Burry spent 2006 and 2007 buying credit default swaps on subprime mortgage bonds. A credit default swap is essentially insurance on a bond. If the bond defaults, the swap pays off. Burry was betting that subprime mortgages would default in massive numbers, destroying the bonds backed by those mortgages.
And he was right. He was so right.
Everyone thought Burry was insane. His investors demanded their money back. His brokers mocked him. But Burry understood the math. The mortgages were garbage, the bonds were worthless, and when housing prices stopped rising, the entire structure would collapse. Burry paid premiums on these swaps for over a year, watching his fund lose money while waiting for the crash. But when it came, his credit default swaps paid off at levels that seemed impossible.
Yeah.
He turned a few $100 million into several billion.
Whoa.
John Paulson did the same thing, but on an even larger scale.
Larger than that? To a couple million to a couple billion?
Paulson raised a fund specifically to buy credit default swaps on mortgage bonds. When the crash hit, Paulson's fund made $15 billion. One fund, one trade, $15 billion in profit, while the global financial system nearly died.
Wow.
Now in 2025, the volatility bets are being placed again. Hedge funds have been accumulating put options on major indexes.
Look at that.
The CBOE Volatility Index, called the VIX, has been showing unusual activity. Sophisticated investors
What's
are
the
buying
VIX, I
protection
wonder?
at levels that suggest they are expecting a major move down within the next 12 months. Bill Ackman made $2.6 billion in March 2020 by buying credit default swaps on corporate bonds right before the COVID crash.
Oh.
Ackman saw the pandemic coming, understood it would crash markets, and bought protection. When markets fell, his swaps exploded in value. He closed the positions, took $2.6 billion in profit, and then used that money to buy stocks at the bottom. The full playbook, all 3 trades plus the 4th. And Ackman has been signaling recently that he is concerned about market valuations again. He has been vocal about risks in commercial real estate, about excessive government debt, and about the fragility of regional banks. When someone who made billions from the last crash starts warning again, that is not casual conversation. That is positioning. The data
That's true.
shows massive increases in put option activity on major stocks and indexes. Someone is buying enormous amounts.
So, I know this is Wikipedia, but VIX is a ticker symbol and popular name for the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Popular measure of stock market expectation of volatility based on the S&P 500 index option is calculated and disseminated on a real-time basis by the CBOE and is often referred to as the fear index or the fear gauge. The VIX traces Journal of Fine Economics. Okay, so this is where it is right now. Let's look at a 1-year chart here. So, I don't know. It's not super high right now.
Amounts of downside protection. This is not retail investors hedging their 401k accounts. This is institutional scale betting. Billions of dollars in put options positioned to pay off when markets crash. Trade 3 is active. The volatility bets are being placed. The smart money is positioning to profit from the collapse. Now let me connect this to what is happening right now. All 3 trades are being executed simultaneously for the first time since 2007 and 2008. That is the signal. That is how you know the crash is coming.
Interesting.
Buffett is sitting on $325 billion in cash. That is
There's
trade
our
1.
recap.
Central banks are buying thousands of tons of gold.
Yep.
That is trade 2. Hedge funds are accumulating put options and credit default swaps at levels not seen since before 2008. That is trade 3. The playbook is being executed in real time. The historical pattern says that when all 3 trades are active, you are 12 to 18 months away from the crash. Let me show you why the crash is inevitable by looking at the current setup. Stock market valuations are at extremes seen only twice before, in 1929 and in 2000. The S&P 500 is trading at a price-to-earnings ratio around 28. The historical average is 15 to 17. The only times valuations reached these levels were right before the Great Depression and right before the dot-com crash that destroyed 78% of the NASDAQ value. But it is worse because of concentration risk. 7 stocks represent approximately 30% of the entire S&P 500 market value. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla. If these 7
and these are at least Meta was in that list of companies the CEOs are dumping stocks of right now, so that's interesting.
Companies crash, they will take the entire market down with them. This concentration has not existed since 1929, when a handful of industrial stocks held up the whole market right before the collapse.
Interesting.
Nvidia alone illustrates the insanity. The company trades at a price-to-earnings ratio above 65. Investors are paying $65 for every dollar of annual profit the company generates. Nvidia's total market value exceeds $3 trillion. That makes it worth more than the entire German stock market. This is not rational valuation. This is speculation driven by artificial intelligence hype, the exact same dynamic as the internet hype of 1999. Real estate is more overvalued than the 2008 housing bubble. Home prices are approximately 50% above their long-term trend relative to income and rent. At the peak of the 2008 bubble, homes were 35% above trend. We are 43% more overvalued now than we were before the crash that nearly destroyed capitalism.
Wow.
And commercial real estate is already collapsing. Office buildings sit 45% vacant. San Francisco has a 35% vacancy rate. These properties were financed when interest rates...
Here's NVIDIA's 5-year chart, and it has really rocketed up, although it looks like here and we're starting to go down a little bit. So maybe have we passed the peak, or are we going to see a resurgence? That's one hill, two hills. I think we're going to see a third hill, but I'm not an expert, so I don't know. What do you think? I think we might see a third before it tanks, but maybe not. Maybe it's ready to tank now.
Were 3%. Now those mortgages are coming due and need to be refinanced at 7 to 9%. The math does not work.
Right.
Defaults are beginning. Banks are taking losses. The cascade has started. Government debt has reached levels that make the system unsustainable. Total federal debt exceeds $36 trillion. Annual interest payments on that debt now exceed $1.2 trillion per year. That is larger than defense spending, larger than Social Security.
Whoa.
The single biggest line item in the federal budget is interest on past borrowing. When your interest payments exceed everything else, you have three choices. Cut spending drastically and cause a recession. Raise taxes drastically and cause a recession.
Right.
Or print money to pay the debt and cause inflation.
Although there's another option here he's not talking about, and that is the Great Reset. That is, issue a digital currency that you cannot convert the paper currency to, and then tell everyone they can only spend the digital currency, and then the debt basically goes away.
All three options lead to economic crisis. The setup is identical to previous crashes. Extreme valuations, excessive leverage, unsustainable debt. The system is fragile. It just needs a trigger. The trigger could be anything: a major bank failure, a commercial real estate default that cascades, an unexpected geopolitical crisis, a recession that is worse than expected.
Yep.
The specific trigger does not matter. What matters is that the system is so overextended that any shock will start the cascade.
Interesting.
Based on the historical pattern, here is the timeline. We are somewhere between month 12 and month 18 before the crash. That puts the crash window at late 2025 or the first half of 2026. It could be sooner if a trigger appears early. It could be slightly later if markets stay irrational longer.
Yeah.
But we are in the
Might
window.
be slightly later.
When the crash comes, it will happen in phases. First, a crack appears. Something breaks. Maybe Nvidia misses earnings and falls 20% in a day. Maybe a major regional bank fails. Maybe commercial real estate defaults spike. The initial crack usually happens 6 to 12 months before the full crisis.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
comes contagion. The initial
I think we're starting to see that real estate default. I'm going to look that up while we watch some of this.
crack spreads. Fear becomes self-fulfilling. Credit markets freeze. Nobody wants to lend because nobody knows who is solvent. This is what happened in September 2008 after Lehman Brothers collapsed. The entire credit system stopped functioning. Then comes intervention. Governments and central banks panic. They throw everything at the problem. Interest rates get cut. Trillions get printed. Banks get bailed out. Markets stabilize temporarily, and people think the worst is over. But it is an illusion. The intervention does not solve the underlying problem. Then comes the secondary collapse. This is when people realize the intervention did not work. Markets that rallied on the stimulus start falling again, this time faster and farther because confidence has been broken.
So just a quick summary of this here. Commercial real estate CRE defaults are escalating, driven by a confluence of high interest rates, declining property values, and a wave of loan maturities. The delinquency rate for U.S. office loans reached 8.12% in September 2025, a 42 basis point increase from August, largely due to the default of a $180 million loan tied to a major Manhattan office building at 261 Fifth Avenue. The spike reflects broader distress, with over $38 billion of U.S. office buildings now threatened by defaults or foreclosures, the highest level since 2012. A significant portion of the $4.7 trillion in outstanding commercial mortgages, $929 billion, or 20%, is set to mature in 2024, creating, well, that already happened, a major borrowing. Okay. If your office property with 44% loans are negative equity, meaning their current market is less than the outstanding loan balance. Situation is exacerbated by the shift to hybrid or remote work, which is the most demand for the office. National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, warns that if interest rates remain high and property values do not recover, default rates could surpass those seen in 2007 to 2009 global financial crisis. Yep. So pretty interesting. Let's see here. What the Fed, we got a link to the Fed here. Delinquency rates in commercial real estate. Let's see. Oh, so we've had a bit of an uptick, but we're not anywhere near 2008 levels yet. Look what happened in the early 90s. Wow, okay. So big spike in 2008, little spike in COVID, but we are above levels we saw in COVID. But it looks like it might have tapered off a little bit. Interesting. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if that spikes, huh?
This phase is the heart of the crash. It typically lasts 18 to 36 months. Finally comes stabilization and reset. After the system has been thoroughly cleansed, after bad debts have been liquidated, after zombie companies have failed, the foundation for a new cycle gets established. But this only happens after years of pain. The investors who execute the 3 trades do not try to time every twist and turn. They position early, they build cash during the late stage of the bubble, they buy gold before the crash, they buy volatility protection 6 to 12 months out. Then they wait. When the crash comes, the 3 trades pay off. The cash position protects them from losses. The gold preserves purchasing power while central banks print money. The volatility instruments explode in value as markets fall. And then comes the implicit 4th trade. After everything has crashed, after panic has reached maximum levels, after stocks are down 50 to 70% from their peak, that is when you deploy. You use the cash you protected. You use the profits you made from the volatility.
So here's our chart for delinquency rate on loans secured by real estate, all commercial banks. And so again, we see that in this chart, we are still below pandemic levels. They have each one of these crashes highlighted, right? So here's the one in the 90s. And then you see the one in the 2000s. You see this, wow. And then the pandemic. So here's that housing crash. Came back down and we were doing good. And then we had a pandemic, pushed us up a bit, came back down, and we are climbing, but we're not nearly to the 2% range where we probably should start being a little more concerned. That's my hot take. Again, not a financial advisor, but just looking at the numbers here. All right, so we're going to move on here. We're going to check out a little bit about XRP. We were talking a little the other day about crypto, and I think that XRP is a fascinating asset in the way that it's being positioned on the global stage. So we're going to learn a little about XRP. Yeah, let's get into this.
Not Bitcoin. It is not Ether. It is XRP.
It is
the coin
XRP.
formerly known as Ripple, soaring more than 20%.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up to confirm it, but Ripple and XRP are related, but they're not the same thing. It was not formally known as Ripple, in my understanding. Ripple is a separate entity. I will confirm that for you, sir.
This year, becoming the 3rd largest cryptocurrency out there, and there's big money behind this trade. Mackenzie Sagalos joins us now with that XRP trade and what, Mac, is driving all of this interest in XRP.
Well, what's actually been interesting is that during the doldrums of Q4, you actually saw a lot of people piling into those XRP ETFs, which is the exact opposite of what happens with the...
Okay, so again, just a synopsis here. Ripple and XRP are often confused due to their similar names and shared origins, but they are distinct entities. Ripple is a private technology company that developed the Ripple protocol, an open-source distributed ledger technology used for fast and low-cost international payments. The company operates RippleNet, a suite of financial solutions, including Xcurrent, XRapid, and XVIA, which are used by banks and financial institutions to facilitate cross-border transactions. XRP, on the other hand, is a native cryptocurrency of the XRP ledger, XRPL, a decentralized blockchain that runs independently of Ripple, the company. Someday it'll be a country. It was created in 2012 with a fixed supply of 100 billion tokens, all pre-mined at launch. XRP serves as a bridge currency to enable faster and cheaper cross-border transactions by eliminating the need for multiple intermediaries and reducing settlement times to just 3 to 5 seconds. Transaction fees on XRP ledger are minimal, 0.0001 XRP, and are destroyed with each transaction, contributing to long-term scarcity. While Ripple owns a significant portion of XRP's supply, originally 80 billion tokens, the XRP ledger is governed by over 150 independent validators, including universities, exchanges, and community members, ensuring decentralization and network resilience. Ripple does not control the ledger or the cryptocurrency, and the network can continue to function even if the company were to cease operations. However, Ripple uses XRP in its XRapid service to provide liquidity for cross-border payments. This is important, to provide liquidity for cross-border payments, particularly for less common currency pairs. That's probably about enough of that.
Spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, where people really move in tandem with the price of the coin. But it was the fact that it is a way to have a higher percentage jump. So people were buying the dip with XRP in Q4, thinking this is a less crowded trade than Bitcoin or Ether. And then that proved out to be true just in the first 6 trading days of January.
We've also talked a lot about the blockchains and the ecosystems that are being built around many of these systems. We know kind of what they are with regard to Bitcoin. We certainly these days know what it is around Ethereum and Ether. What exactly is the big use case or driver? What's the practicality?
So the general understanding is that Bitcoin, is not very useful for transactions. It's really a place to store value now. I think Ethereum is really great for smart contracts, and that's a whole nother thing. But we're going to see why XRP is important.
For XRP.
Well, with XRP and Solana, those are the two very popular altcoins right now where you're seeing a lot more interest. And with Solana, a lot of these different forms of tokenization. So we talk about tokenized dollars all the time in the context of stable coins. But now we're seeing a lot of people move into tokenizing money market funds. And Solana has become a blockchain use case for that. And XRP.
That's kind of interesting that Solana is doing that, because that was really the promise of Ethereum, I believe.
He made its name in terms of cross-border payments. But what's been fascinating is even just this morning, Morgan Stanley, which has been especially progressive in terms of having their financial advisors suggest that clients get into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. They were the first bank to do that. They're now, just this morning, filing an S1 to launch their own Bitcoin and Solana ETFs because there is an appetite there.
Yeah.
So in the world...
Of course, just because there's an appetite from the investors doesn't really mean much.
Where Bitcoin has become a bit mainstream. I'm not going to say the boomer, that's not my line, that's from somebody else. Is it possible that XRP and Solana are simply taking their place as kind of the next cool thing to know about? Or do they have a legitimately different and more relevant use case?
Oh, there's nothing like showing your intelligence level on national TV.
Well, in the context of just looking to make, an investment that has bigger gains, you're not going to get that from Bitcoin just because it's already so established. You're not seeing the same kind of percentage moves. But what's fascinating with Solana especially is just that it moves faster. And so you're able to tokenize these funds, move, whether it's a money market fund that you're moving along or some other tokenized asset, it just is more efficient than Bitcoin as a base blockchain, which is why you're seeing more use cases.
But that's also the reason why, right? Solana is the big thing right now because it is a faster transaction mechanism.
Cheaper transactions
and
too.
Ether is a cheaper transaction mechanism as well. We talk about stable coins. If people have Coinbase wallets or Coinbase accounts, if they use the base network for now, many of those stable coins are transaction.
As if Coinbase is the only one who does that. There's other platforms who do this as well.
Free. So the speed, is that what's driving a lot of this idea that cost and speed is going to be the defining factor for how people gravitate towards certain blockchains?
That's exactly it. And also with stablecoins, the Genius Act was...
So I think an important thing here, they're talking about the consumer and what draws the consumer to different blockchains. And I think what we're going to get into a little later, which is probably more important, is what draws the international monetary funds, the international banks, to blockchains. It's more crucial than what the end user is drawn to.
Passed into law last year, so we saw a lot more stablecoin issuers. But remember, it's not as though they only operate over one blockchain. You have different blockchains where you can move USDC, for example. And so Tron is another quick blockchain.
But at different costs, though,
at
right?
different price points.
Right.
And so Solana is a lot more cost effective than moving money over the Ethereum blockchain at different points, which
This
is why
is
you're
true.
seeing people diversify away from the big two.
Yeah, Ethereum's kind of
Times are
expensive.
changing. Do you think that? Do you sense, you talk to these people more than any of us, Mac, do you sense the times are changing or not? Is it just, in other words, are they looking for the next thing now that Bitcoin's been in a consolidation pattern, or are the real like long-term holders, the true believers, sticking with it?
I think absolutely we're seeing times change. You've got Vlad Tenev over at Robinhood talking about tokenizing equities. Brian Armstrong, part of why
Yep.
the Coinbase trade is doing so well, Goldman Sachs upgrading that to a buy, has to do with the fact that they're diversifying away from just being a cryptocurrency exchange, and they're getting into ultimately they want to tokenize equities. For now, they're
Right.
just offering equities trading, getting into prediction markets, which also has deep ties into the world of crypto. And so it is this evolution of the market, certainly.
I'm not into this whole prediction market thing. I think it's gambling. That's just my hot take on prediction markets in general, to be honest with you. So I think this might be, I don't know. We're gonna watch this. This guy, XRP, will vanish overnight. They will delist it. This is that CIA guy. He's got some interesting takes sometimes, but I don't know as his takes are always that accurate. But let's see what he's got to say, because, I'm interested to see what he's got to say here.
Andrew Bustamante,
that's kinda
former
loud, isn't it?
CIA spy, talks Bitcoin tokenization and the value of digital assets. We also have a clip here from Eric Trump talking about everything will be tokenized. If you're not sure who Andrew Bustamante is, he's a former covert CIA officer, decorated U.S. Air Force combat veteran.
I think that it is true that they're going to drive everything towards being on the blockchain, like everything. Your car title, your house title, money. They're going to figure out a way to incorporate this into food somehow.
And graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. So I actually love this guy. I watch him on YouTube a lot and talking about Bitcoin and crypto. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Cryptocurrency and decentralized cryptocurrency, if you will, right? So something decentralized like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is only useful if people adopt Bitcoin. Meaning, like, if storefronts adopt
Right.
Bitcoin, or if ATM machines
That's not entirely true, because it's also useful as a store of value currently.
adopt Bitcoin. That's the only time that Bitcoin becomes useful, is if you can actually extract the value out of the cryptocurrency that is decentralized. What we're seeing is a move towards centralized digital currencies, also cryptocurrencies, but centralized.
That's what we would call like a CBDC, a centralized digital currencies, often referred to as a CBDC.
Digital dollar, digital crypto, digital currencies that are already alive and well in China and across Europe, right? A centralized currency is the only currency that any government ever is going to actually adopt and reward, because governments need to make money off of their centralization of that currency. They need to.
He's got a valid point. So let's look here. A central bank digital currency, CBDC, is a digital form of a country's official fiat currency issued and backed by its central bank, serving as a digital liability of the central bank and functioning as a direct claim on the government's credit. Unlike private cryptocurrencies, CBDCs are centrally controlled and designed to work alongside physical cash. Although there is a lot of theories running around that when they do issue a CBDC, it will not work alongside physical cash, because if they delink it with physical cash, then when you go and sell your securities, your treasure bonds, then they if you can't convert that cash you get from the credit bonds into the CBDC, then that money essentially becomes worthless, which essentially makes the debt worthless, which essentially bails the government out of debt with one swift move. So we're not hoping it works that way, but I think there's a high likelihood that it will work that day. So physical cash, offering a secure real-time payment option for everyday transactions with the potential to enhance financial inclusion by providing access to digital money for unbanked populations. It's a little silly because you're going to have a platform to use the money. So, if you're unbanked and you might be able to access it, but if you're untechnological, you're not going to be able to access it. So it doesn't really solve that issue as much as they want to preach that it does. CBDCs are categorized into retail versions for general public use and wholesale version for financial institutions, with the latter aiming to streamline high-value transactions and improves. Yep. As of 2026, 137 countries and currency unions representing 98% of global GDP are exploring CBDCs, with 9 having launched national digital currencies, including the Bahamas, Sand Dollar, Nigeria, Inaria, Jamaica, Jamdex, and China, Digital RMB, India, Digital Rupee, and Russia, Digital Ruby, while others like the European Central Bank are advancing pilot projects for a digital euro.
Control how much is coming in, how much is going out, the value of that digital currency, and they need to make a 0.5%, 0.02% off of every transaction, because that just creates free money for the government.
Also, interesting
That's
point
true.
that I just popped into my head. You know how much abuse happens with the US dollar and illegal print shops, right? There's a whole Secret Service division that is dedicated to going after people in foreign countries having printers and printing old hundreds and counterfeit, right? If they have a CBDC, how are you going to counterfeit that? That is also something I'd imagine that governments are looking at combating, so they are the ones only that can mint or burn and redeem these central bank digital currency issued assets.
I think that's a nice pipe dream. Again, show me any digital system that's never been hacked besides maybe Bitcoin. But even though Bitcoin hasn't been hacked itself, some exchanges have been hacked, and that affects the Bitcoin that sits in those people's wallets. There are some reports, I have not confirmed yet, out that some even cold wallets are somehow being taken advantage of. So if this thing can happen, I really don't see in the long run how the government's going to keep people from being able to manipulate the system, especially as we move into a world with quantum computing. And that's a whole nother discussion we can get into. If you want, let me know in the comments.
It's totally decentralized, completely works against all of the incentives for government. So the government would, if not fully block a digital, uncontrolled, uncentralized cryptocurrency, they would for sure never incentivize their populations to use that currency. And I understand all the people whose panties are in an uproar right now about Bitcoin, but they know it too. They've been investing in Bitcoin since the early 2000s, and you still can't really use your Bitcoin everywhere.
There's reports that X is going to start allowing XRP to be used for purchases on X. So this is actively changing. There are places in the U.S. even where you can use digital currencies to buy goods.
Anywhere. There's a handful of ATMs in any given city that will give you cash for your Bitcoin. All you can really do with Bitcoin is buy it and sell it. And you can only sell it for what people are willing to pay for it, which drastically varies in price. Even though it's strong right now, like November of last year, it was half of what it's valued at right now. So that's the challenge with cryptocurrency. Will it destroy the US dollar? I think digital currency is the wave of the future, especially if you tie digital currency to the blockchain and make it fully auditable. But will Bitcoin kill the US dollar? The US dollar is always going to be more valuable than Bitcoin because it's so much more useful. And I already know what people are bitching about right now. Well, how can you say the US dollar is more valuable than Bitcoin? Because the US dollar has the staying power of multiple governments to back it. Bitcoin could literally end tomorrow.
Wow, there's so many things.
Yeah, except the dollar could end tomorrow too. So here we go. Today, in partnership with this company and that company, we're excited to announce the first tokenized money market fund on the XRP ledger. Okay, that's not it. I'm looking for something else.
Here that just music to my ears. You'd imagine that if Bitcoin's true use case, right, was the future of the financial system, why is no government outside of, maybe a handful of small countries that kind of do illegal stuff adopting it, right? El Salvador, you start to be like, oh, you're partnered with El Salvador, Michael Saylor, Jack Mallers. Ooh, okay. I just can't see it, right? You could go spend your Bitcoin at Steak and Shake or whatever it is, right? You can wait 5 minutes for the transaction to go through. Maybe your food will be ready by the time they say, oh yeah, you finally need. This is not the future. You cannot have 1 billion people using Bitcoin.
Again, it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not the future.
Network collapsing on itself. Transactions could take 100 years. Now, you could use the Lightning Network. Bitcoin would adopt that fail. I don't know anybody. Now, there could be institutions that obviously I'm not looking at or paying attention to, but when you're talking about a cryptocurrency that is accepted globally for not just for a value, that's true purpose through tokenization of financial products, or a company like Ripple, who is the biggest blockchain infrastructure on the planet, now we're talking, right? That's a use case that governments can get behind. That an interoperable ledger and value can move seamlessly the world on for little to no cost.
Yeah, XRP, right? XRP can do that for sure.
Ledgers, you can do whatever you want. That is the future, in my opinion, and I think Mr. Bustamante here can see it as well.
We have no control over it. If everybody decides they don't like Bitcoin anymore, tomorrow the value becomes zero.
That's true.
I completely understand that being essentially digital gold, where I see both an irony and a more kind of confusing ability to predict where it's going is in the altcoins that have both strategic and utility value to them. When I see things like XRP and Solana and HBAR and Ethereum, Cardano, I mean, there's a handful of them that big institutions are considering replacing the SWIFT cross-border payment technology with.
My man knows what he's talking about.
He
does. Like this guy. Who is this guy? I like him.
To me, that there is a weird both irony and a little troubling outlook in that it makes sense, but only from an institutionalization standpoint, where your average everyday citizen doesn't even realize they're using it because it's that well integrated into big banking industry and financial networks. And so,
and that's it. That's what he's nailing it right there. It's what's used on the back end. It's important between international settlements, large settlements, big money.
To me, the second layer of difficulty there is the faster that's implemented, the more likely it is that the top 4 or 5 big banks in this country collapse because of that decentralization aspect and an inability to make money and control that aspect. Where the irony comes in, to me, this is the whole point of crypto initially, was the decentralization aspect of it and cutting out the middleman, and me being able to pay you that fast, from phone to phone without including JP Morgan Chase in that transaction.
Right.
But I feel like we're on this weird tipping point or precipice of it's either going to kind of go back down the hill. I mean, it's almost like a potential avalanche that's at this peak, and it's either going to get pushed back down the hill where it's not institutionalized and there's too much ability from big financial industry to be able to squash it, or they go full nuts, completely on board it, and now it's,
Yep.
you know, again, it's you're sending money from me to you, or vice versa, utilizing some sort of blockchain or ledger of some of these altcoins immediately, and we don't even realize we're using it because it's just embedded into the app. But the tricky part is how that would be rolled out, and now it defeats the whole purpose of why Bitcoin initially was started in the first place. So
He's got a good
to me,
point
it's
there.
quite a bit of uncharted territory that I'm not sure how it's going to shape.
Okay, there's a few things here that I want to talk about
okay.
and address. One of the things, you're not going to be able to put crypto back in the box.
Right.
People, institutions have seen how much money they can save by using stable coins or bridge assets or the tokenization of value. Like, this is the future. You have Larry Fink, who is the, he's the CEO of the largest financial institution with assets under management on the planet, right? Telling you the future of these financial markets is on blockchain, right?
So I think what we're actually going to see here is we're going to see CBDCs take off in a big way, and the governments, the fiat system, will control the CBDC, and they will use it to control us, the population, as much as they can. But they are going to need a system to transfer funds between, say, the digital euro and the digital dollar. And so a system, and it might be a XRP, it may not, it may be another one, but a system like XRP is likely what they're going to use on the back end to transfer value from one nation state to another.
You have Jamie Dimon, Chase. They're working with 80 to 100 different blockchain companies. Now these are different companies doing different things in the blockchain space, but you have Bank of America, right? You have Citibank. You have every
all those.
large financial institution understanding how important these digital assets are. They were trying to put it in the box, yes, because they make tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars per year off allowing other banks to use their rails to move money. Of course, they don't want that to end. But
of course, they don't want it to end, but it's too late. The genie's already out of the bottle.
they understand that people are going.
This might be what this might be the trigger we were talking about earlier. This might be the trigger that starts the landslide for the next great recession, or maybe depression.
Going to push back regardless, and if they don't offer these services, other banks will, and they will go extinct. I don't think JP Morgan or Bank of America or Citibank, they're going anywhere anytime soon. They have been here for hundreds of years. In my opinion, they will continue to be here. They have too much money, and they are also globally, systemically important to governments all around the world. So I don't think they're going anywhere, but
although I think if the governments could get rid of them, they would without a hesitation. So you might think that just because they're important to global governments now, it doesn't mean that these institutions are going to be that important to the global governments in the future.
I think they understand the importance of the moment that we are in. And plus, you have the Trump administration basically saying crypto is here to stay. Right? We want to be the crypto capital of the world. This is the golden age of the future. It is not going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I do think this is a great conversation. I'm glad I played the clip live with you so I could give you my random reactions. And here is Eric Trump talking about everything will be tokenized.
Oh, okay.
This is a good clip, man. This is a good clip. I was thinking when I was watching this,
I'm kind of curious to hear what Eric Trump has to say here.
Other chairs were not the exact right choice for the interviews, because every time you move, you can hear it picked up on the mic. My brain was just fixated on that. I was trying to pay attention, but I was also like, all right.
Yeah. Well, Eric, you said you were on the first yard line when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto and this entire space. How do you see it, for instance, like reshaping real estate? Do you see the tokenization of everything, or what do you see the next 5 years?
Tokenization of everything.
Yep. Yep. He's got it. Tokenization of everything.
Time. I mean, it might not all happen in the next 5 years, but listen, we're seeing in Trump Tower, right? Very famous building. Probably everybody on earth has heard of Trump Tower.
Heard of it, yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. Why is it if I want to put financing on this building? Why is it if I want to go take a loan? I probably had the ability to go to 7 different banks that had the capability of doing a project like this. Why can't I go out to tens of millions of people around the world who adore Trump, adore our name, and offer it to them and say, listen, we're going to put $500 million of financing on Trump Tower. Who wants a part of it? You raise the money, and guess what? All these people, this incredible group of people.
I'd take a piece of that. I don't even have any money, and I'd take a piece of that.
We'll all have a small share, a couple shares, a couple tokens of Trump Tower. Like, that's a beautiful concept. If Taylor Swift puts out a new album, why can't she go and
I'll leave that one on the deck. No thanks.
why can't she sell that album and otherwise tokenize it, monetize that album, and have people bet on the success of their fan, of whoever they love, whoever they aspire to be. You're going to have tokenized movies. You're going to have tokenized artists. You're going to have tokenized real estate. You're going to have tokenized commodities. There's virtually nothing. You're going to have tokenized art. Guess what?
We're going to see in a few minutes here, they plan on tokenizing the rainforest.
Want to only...
you have a lot of this stuff already, but great points.
The greatest painting ever. Guess what? You can't afford the $200 million price tag, but you can own 1/10,000th of that painting or 1/100,000th of that painting, and you can you can get the accretion of the value if it goes up, and maybe if it goes down. I think everything's going to be tokenized. You're seeing companies tokenized. You're seeing stocks tokenized. It's coming, and it's right around the corner. It'll give great accessibility to people who would otherwise never be able to access certain financial markets and certain asset classes.
Yep. He says it's right around the corner, but I think it's already here in a lot of ways. We just aren't seeing it yet.
First time, once again, providing financial freedom that just doesn't exist.
I love that the president's son actually knows what he's talking about, right? This is unique. When you have usually the family member of a very important politician, sometimes.
Remember the last president? Remember what his family members were talking about? Crickets.
Sometimes they're kind of a dodo bird. They don't really know what they're talking about. Eric Trump seems to have his stuff together in the crypto market, and it's just great.
Yeah, Eric Trump doesn't sit around and talk about how wonderful hard substances are. It's like a breath of fresh air, isn't it?
To see leveling the playing field, being able to giving access to people that are either underbanked, don't have a bank account at all, giving them the capability to get a loan, right? Send money to friends and family for cheaply, not having to pay these absorbent fees. This is all some of the utility that we're all looking forward to when we're talking about crypto adoption. Now, I did think this was interesting. E-Trade, Morgan Stanley will offer crypto services and allow customers to custody digital assets. Holy smokes. This is what we've been saying for years on this channel, and we're finally seeing it. Let's go.
Something that Robinhood has already offered. So Morgan Stanley is kind of not late to the party, but at least getting on board now.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of a more favorable regulatory environment for the banks. It might be one of the first big announcements where you see bank partnering with one of these crypto trading firms to offer access to customers. It's true that they had it with fintechs like Robinhood before, but you might see more of things like this in the new regulatory environment.
Interesting.
Is the risk factors here? I mean, we know this stuff can be volatile. We know it has been volatile in the past. We have no idea what it's going to be in the future, but what's the risk for a traditional company, an established company like this, offering this to clients?
Sure. I mean, they offer all sorts of products to the clients, so I guess at some level, the client should be aware of the risks too. And if they have a financial advisor, presumably the financial advisor will talk to them about it. But it sounds like on E-Trade, it's almost similar to Robinhood, where you're making bets on your own and making these decisions on your own a lot of the time.
Something that Robinhood has.
All right, a lot of cool things happening too here with this, guys. I'll let you go with that. I thought this was a great and fun interview to play with you guys live. Let me know what you think. If you want me to make more content like this, kind of reacting to popular.
That was interesting, actually. I think I'll give this guy a subscribe here. All right, so let's move on here. Let's move on. So XP holds what they are hiding from you. Whitney Webb. This is interesting. Let's see what she say about this.
Market. Provably corrupted by these same protector forces, and the same protector forces are tied to intelligence and organized crime more often than not. Is running the partnership. You could argue maybe they're a slightly different faction, elites that are figures, but I think ultimately they have the same ends, which is increased control of society, increased centralization of power, and basically leading us to a paradigm that's enforced by technology.
One thing that really caught my attention when the cryptocurrency market went down is that institutional investors were buying heavy. Look at MicroStrategy, the company that Michael Saylor created, and they bought about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And then Harvard, the school, purchased around $400 million Bitcoin. And
that's part of it is we manipulate the market goes down, and then guess what? Buy it up.
these ETFs get launched and get passed on to the exchange. And guess what? The biggest buyers of XRP when it dropped was not retail investors like you and me. It was institutional buyers.
The U.S. intelligence, World War II era, were very so nationalism and ethnicity, the Mussolini model of Italy.
And so why is that?
What does that have to do with this?
I guess it seems to be the best system that benefits, an oligarchy at the end of the day. Because, I mean, look at the CIA and what type of it tends to install historically when coups somewhere, fascist dictatorship. And basically, a fascist dictatorship, the Mussolini model, he called it courtism. It's basically a fusion of the public and private sector. It's the ultimate public-private partnership, as they're now called, because it sounds a lot nicer. It's not a F word, right? But functionally, especially when you consider that the public sector is probably dominated and corrupted by these same private sector forces, private sector forces tied to intelligence and organized crime more often than not, who's really running the partnership at the end of the day? And so generally, these powers that be are interested, in one thing. So, I mean, if you think about it, like organized crime as an entity, what is organized crime most interested in? It's expanding, perpetuating their rackets, their illicit businesses, and preventing law enforcement snooping or meddling in their businesses. And so ultimately, fascism facilitates that same type of model, really, especially if you are an organized crime outfit, merge your rackets with intelligence and given them state protection. Right. But, as I mentioned, a while ago, there's been a longstanding effort to sort of blur the line between the illicit ventures of organized crime and their legitimate ventures.
Yes.
And so really, when you're looking at some of these oligarchs and some of these connections, it's hard to tell where the illicit ones end and the legitimate ones begin, because they've kind of merged into the same thing. And some people have argued, for example, that if it wasn't for the illicit drug industry, Wall Street would collapse because they are so involved, even though they're not prosecuted for it, in the money laundering and a lot of the other, upkeep of that illicit criminal enterprise, and it benefits them hugely. And this is why, you have massive banks like HSBC, for example, outed for laundering money for nothing. It's because all the big banks do that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and I mean, there's record banks doing that. The most famous of it is the Bank of Commerce, BCCI, and BCCI basically exploded in 1991 and was investigated by the Senate. They found all kinds of arms trafficking, drugs trafficking, organized crime intelligence agencies, sex trafficking of prepubescent children was something this bank engaged in, and it was just completely covered up. The CIA had allegedly created that bank.
So here's what I think. I think this is the calm before the storm for XRP. And this is no hype whatsoever. What we have seen is the SEC drop their case against Ripple, and we have seen several ETFs for XRP before now the institutions to increase power. That's the real question. They're being manipulated by institutions. Institutional and will activity plays a significant role in XRP's price movements, leading to
I'm pretty sure the institutions are absolutely manipulating the XRP price as well as the Bitcoin price, but XRP is a little more difficult for them to manipulate.
To claims of manipulation. Look at the top 100 rich list of XRP, and you notice that it's just a bunch of exchanges who really don't play a part in XRP's vision of the future. So one analyst claims XRP's market is a controlled simulation where banks, exchanges, and regulators suppress the price to accumulate cheaply ahead of a global financial shift.
Right.
So this is not the same XRP that we seen 4 years ago. It is completely different.
Right.
What we have seen is regulatory clarity and a new SEC chair and essentially a government that supports cryptocurrency now. And this is a global shift.
This is a global shift. If you remember, the previous administration was very bearish on crypto, to say the least.
A lot of governments begin to adopt cryptocurrency, and the one thing that has always
but they're not adopting crypto necessarily. They are preferring, as we've talked about, CBDCs, which is on ledger but something they can control.
stayed the same is XRP's fundamentals and its vision of the future. And people are starting to pick it up. But it's not retail investors that are picking it up. It's these large institutions that are dropping the price to buy in cheap to increase fear while they load their bags.
But I think it's important because having an echo chamber about these types of powerful figures, Teal and all these people, being really the money behind it. So I think, it's important to break that echo chamber that they've been constructing to sort of frame these people as libertarian or pro-liberty, but they're really not libertarian at all. Peter Thiel is on record saying that free market competition is for losers. That doesn't sound like a libertarian for me. And if you look at Peter Thiel,
that's not libertarian at all. Peter Thiel also has been on record saying he believes in the Antichrist.
Thiel's own history, he's interested in creating monopolies with the direct involvement of the state, arguably more often than not the national security state. And I definitely do not think that's libertarianism. I think that's more, fascism. And ultimately,
she has a point on that front.
House philosopher of the PayPal mafia, as he's sometimes called, Curtis Yarvin, who's been influential on J.D. Vance and some of these other figures that are very politically powerful right now. His ambition is to have the U.S. government remake itself really as a corporation with the CEO running it as dictator, and that Americans need to get over their dictator phobia. And wants to create what he calls, a GovCorp or a SovCorp, a government corporation, sovereign corporation. I don't think that will go well.
Does anybody remember that movie, Idiocracy? Man, we're headed that way fast.
Frankly, even if you tend to be libertarian leading, it's the private sector running everything, but it's an extreme centralization of power. And that historically does not go well and leads directly to authoritarianism, whether it's the public or private sector that's centralized in controlling all of that power. And a lot of these figures, Yarvin included, Thiel included, speak very lowly of the masses in a lot of their writing and reading, and are,
that's true.
Similar to a lot of the elites that are, poo-pooed and were by the pro-Trump media and were supposedly voted out.
What pro-Trump media?
In the last election, and supposedly Peter Thiel and all of these guys, if you believe Barry Weiss and those types, are the counter elites, but really, at the end of the day, they're not. Right. You could argue maybe they're a slightly different faction than the elites that were backing Biden and these other figures.
Whoever's interviewing is providing no challenges whatsoever, just saying,
Sure, but I think ultimately they have the same ends, which is increased control over society, increasing the centralization of power, and basically leading us to a neo-feudal paradigm that's enforced by, technology.
So,
well, it's easy to point to one side or the other and say, oh, they're doing it or they're doing it. But I think it's important to remember that both sides are basically working together. It's just I like to call it a pendulum or a seesaw. But it doesn't really matter Republican or Democrat. We keep getting driven towards the same ends. And so, the whole COVID thing drove us way more towards a unified global state in America. Whether but I do agree what she said, whether it's public or private controlling it, we do not want, an oligarch system in the U.S. We don't want a control-based system. We want to be a democratic republic. And so we need to make sure we hold on to that.
As an XRP investor, what do you do? For one, you can start by dollar cost averaging your way through the dip and not selling off your position. And right now is a really pivotal moment in cryptocurrency. And what I do predict is going to occur if we look at the Bitcoin cycle.
He's going to make a prediction.
we can see that Bitcoin is pretty much projected to go down from here on forth and keep going down all the way until 2027. Now, will that occur? Is it going to last until 2027? There's no way to say for sure, but we are about to enter altcoin season. And I've been covering the cryptocurrency market all the way back to 2020. And I've seen this play out. In 2021, when Bitcoin started to drop, what we started to see is the altcoins go up drastically. And it's essentially retail investors taking their money out of Bitcoin and trying to get further profits in other altcoins. So what this is going to do, it's going to allow XRP the room and retail investor buying power to grow. There's two important things that are going to happen in the next 3 months. We're most likely going to see interest rate cuts because interest rates are way too high
Maybe not if Powell stays in there, though.
now, and they're having an overall effect on both the cryptocurrency market, jobs, the stock market, and the list just goes on. We're also going to see the passing of the Clarity Act in early 2026. I think once these things go through, we'll see Bitcoin somewhat trailing down.
What's the Clarity Act? I'm going to look that up while we finish this up.
Or maybe consolidating, but we'll see the emergence of altcoins and XRP. And one of the biggest sectors in crypto right now that you should definitely be paying attention to, other than XRP, is the AI market for cryptocurrencies. The AI market is projected to grow 1,000% by the year 2030. And right now, the biggest AI token that I've seen on the cryptocurrency market is only valued at 4 billion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like.
All right, so we need to learn about this Clarity Act. Sponsor, Bill J. French. Committee meetings 1/15/26. That is in a couple days. 7/14/25. So we've got a meeting coming up at 10 a.m. on the 15th. To provide a system for regulation of the officer and sale of digital commodities by the Security Exchange Commission, Commodity Futures Trade Commission, to amend Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve Bank from offering certain products or services directly to an individual. Ooh, that's interesting. That would basically mean that the Federal Reserve couldn't create its own CBDC if this passes. To prohibit the use of a central bank digital currency for monetary policy and for other purposes. Very interesting. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I will link it up, though, for those of you who want to go through it. Terms. Just by the synopsis alone, pretty interesting that they're trying to limit the CDC here. They're trying to limit what the Fed can do with the CDC's definitions. In general, the term still in definitions. Man, this is long. There's a lot of definitions. Okay. This term still in definitions. Further definitions. I guess this is a kind of a new field for the Senate, so they have to have a lot of definitions. More definitions. Rulemakings. Commodities Futures Trading Commission and Securities and Exchange Commission shall jointly issue rules to further define the following terms. More terms: blockchain, programmatic functionality, digital commodity, mixed digital asset transaction, self-custody. In general, United States individuals shall retain the right to maintain a hardware wallet or software wallet for the purpose of facilitating the individual's own lawful custody of digital assets and engage in direct peer-to-peer transactions in digital assets with another individual or entity for the individual's own lawful purpose using a hardware or software wallet. Application, rules of construction. Nothing in this subsection shall be construed to limit the authority of the Secretary of the Treasury, Securities and Exchange Commission, Commodities Future Trading Commission, Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Guidance for delisting. no more than 180 days from the date of enactment of this act. The Commodity Futures Trade Commission and Securities Exchange Commission jointly issue rules, proceedings, or guidance to determine the appropriate by commissions regarding the process to delist an asset for trading under Section 106 if the commissions determine the listing is inconsistent with the Commodity Exchange Act, securities law, including regulations under those laws or in this act. Rules for portfolio margining. Suspect a joint order determination described per the rules required. Preceding paragraph should require a joint order determination issued. Applicants file standard application form. Security Exchange Commission. So most of this looks like capital requirements. Risk. So they want it to be backed by capital. It looks like. Expedited registration for digital commodity exchanges, brokers, and dealers. Provisional status. Unless exempt from registration, a person shall not act as a digital commodity broker, digital commodity dealer, or digital commodity exchange after the end of the 90-day period, beginning at the date of the process described. So, looks like all the exchanges are going to have to register if this passes. Expedited process. Great. Payment and fees. A person in provisional status shall pay all fees and penalties. Person in provisional status subject to the requirements of this section. Except as provided in some criteria, a person or provisional status may continue to offer, solicit, trade, facilitate, execute, clear, report, or otherwise deal in any digital asset offered on or through the facilities of the person before the date of registration under this section as time of joint making. So if this passes, I'm kind of curious what happens to the end user. So like I have some crypto on various exchanges. So say one of those exchanges doesn't get listed within that 90-day window. What happens to the crypto that I have on that exchange? Does that mean that they're no longer allowed to what happens to that crypto? What, it just disappears? I mean, crypto doesn't just disappear. How do I get my money back? I'm going to have to research this more. And we may have to tune in on the 15th. I might have to put that on the calendar because this is very interesting, something going on in the Congress that we probably should be paying attention to. Okay. And where are we at here? Okay, did Whitney Webb just expose Larry Fink's WEF master plan tokenization of XRP? So, I don't know. Let's find out.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So this one here from Subjective Views, the IMF director, accept reality, fiat money is moving digital. Guys, this is the reality of the new financial system. This is Kristalina Georgieva, and she's stating it flat out. The monetary system is changing in real time. And, I mean, fiat money's not going anywhere, but guys, it's all moving to stable coins. Listen to this.
But generally, you tell them to embrace it?
I'm telling countries, accept reality. Fiat money is moving digital.
See, it is going away. That's their goal. They want the fiat money gone.
The developments in crypto, both unbacked and backed, they're happening with exponential speed. So yeah, you can try to lock your country away from this. Good luck with it. So yes, I'm telling my members, understand it and then decide for yourself how you're going to operate in this world. But do not close your eyes to reality.
The reality being fiat money is going the way of the dodo, and all money is moving into, digitized assets, including stablecoins. It's interesting because they don't say anything other than it's moving digital. I mean, if we, look at the concept of the tokenization of everything, it could just be that value is going to move into other formats. So not, a representation of the dollar or the euro or the yen or whatever. it could change in that, maybe we own fractions of a piece of gold, and that's how we look at money. It's moving digital. So there's no elaboration on this. We're all assuming it's going to be a stable coin. But, if confidence is eroding in fiat currencies and not just one particular fiat currency, many fiat currencies, this could be our new reality. So I wanted to thank Subjective Views for that. It's interesting because Donald Trump is fighting back tooth and nail. Chad Steingraber posting this. And now we bring on the U.S. digital dollar. BRICS is dead. Laura Ingram with this original tweet here, guys. The President of the United States wants to keep the U.S. dollar strong. And if any member country from the BRICS nations want to trade with the United States, well, Donald Trump's got a plan for that.
I like the dollar. I'm very strong on the dollar. And anybody who wants to deal in dollars, they have an advantage over people that aren't. But for the most part, we're keeping it that way. I think if Biden would have, that group would have gotten elected, meaning Kamala, you wouldn't have the dollar as your currency anymore. You wouldn't have a world domination by the dollar if I didn't win this election. And now the domination, like BRICS. I told anybody wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put...
It's hard to disagree with him here. The previous administration was definitely leading us down a dark road. I'm not saying this administration's perfect, but this particular road, they seem to be doing better for us.
Tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS. BRICS is like, they don't even talk about it anymore.
I had to do a bit of research on that, and as of now, we have not seen any country.
Okay, so this guy's saying maybe Trump's a little full of hot air on that one.
Countries drop out of BRICS. That is just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. But, it could happen, definitely. An interesting plan, though, coming from the President of the United States. Obviously, maintaining U.S. dollar dominance is super important for the U.S. and countries that trade in U.S. dollars. Well, guys, we also have this coming up, too, ISO 20022. Remember, the deadline is just over 1 month away, November 22nd, 2025. An unknown DLT posting this, BNY Mellon has confirmed the implementation of ISO 20022. Remember, BNY Mellon is a Ripple partner. All cross-border payments will be exchanged exclusively in the ISO 20022 format. It is likely that they will adopt DLT this year, as Swift and DTC have said. If this happens, the utility market will begin this year for XRP. And if you guys didn't catch the video I did, this morning.
Could be big.
There was one I did yesterday. I'm going to post this morning's video up here in the top right-hand corner. So here is the update. This is just from this month. ISO 20022 update, formatting for cross-border payments in ISO 20022 messages. So the Swift community is approaching a significant milestone. It is ISO 20022 migration, which will be the conclusion of the coexistence period from FinMT, to the payment ISO 20022 messaging system. And guys, the final day, November 22nd, 2025, all cross-border payments must be exchanged exclusively in the ISO 20022 format.
So,
and,
see, that's...
they've been pushing...
That's what we were talking about earlier. And so I think, again, all these countries, they're going to want their own CBDC that they can control. But then in order for them to exchange value between countries, between CBDCs, they're going to utilize basically XRP as the intermediary. We've known this for a while, actually, and it looks like it's finally coming to fruition here.
Back that deadline, but guys, this is a hard deadline now. Remember, Smoke posting this. Standard Charter podcast confirms that the November 2025 ISO 20022 deadline is final.
That harmonization. But I think there's definitely some learnings from that time. One, originally around, I guess, the deadline moved. And with that, it was very difficult working with clients to get them to move to the new standard. As soon as the deadline moves once, people think it's going to move again. And I know we've heard that also on CBPR Plus. No, the deadline in November is not moving. It is a hard fixed date.
They're putting their foot down.
Somebody knows something I don't know. But it did move originally, and actually clients really struggled to get to that deadline. It meant a lot of change for them in their systems, not something that could just be done by flicking a switch in the 6-month period. So I think the key learning for us, and particularly as we move to getting our corporates moving onto the ISO standard post-November, client engagement is really crucial.
Look, these are top articles on the World Economic Forum right now. Re-globalization, rewiring the world economy for a new era of growth. Stablecoins as a bridge, not a threat. Why interoperability will define global finance. This is what we're talking about. Fragmentation, private markets, and tokenization, the top finance stories of 2025. Nope, we're not the only ones talking about this.
Stand in the time frame that it takes for them to change their systems, and working with them around specifications and testing with them to make sure that it really works end to end for them.
So that's a hard deadline, a fixed deadline. November is not moving anywhere, and you guys can hear from this podcast here that there are reasons for that now. We have been hearing that the deadline has been pushed for a while, but this is it, and I think a lot of countries around the world are realizing how serious this is.
So just to show you, this is happening in real time here. This is that article. Stablecoins as a bridge, not a threat. Why interoperability will define global finance. This is from the World Economic Forum themselves, something like that. There are two distinct financial worlds, the fiat world and digital asset world. True interoperability means connecting three dominant endpoints where the world keeps its money, banks, mobile wallets, and stablecoin wallets. Interesting, they're trying to keep everything. By treating stablecoins as a modern rail for value transfer, we can build a financial system not only faster, cheaper, but more resilient. And of course, their favorite little catchword, inclusive. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in how it works, but how the world pays is struggling to keep up. From gig economy freelancers in Buenos Aires to fast-growing small businesses in Nairobi, economic activity is increasingly borderless. They really do not like borders. Yet for millions, the simple act of getting paid remains one of the most complex, expensive, and slow aspects of operating globally. Traditional cross-border rails built for a different era often cannot match the speed of modern digital economy. This creates a gap of friction points between how people earn globally and how the money moves locally. Stablecoins have stepped into this gap not as a speculative asset, but as pragmatic utility. However, the potential will remain unrealized if they operate in isolation. To understand the future of finance, we must look beyond the assets themselves and focus on how they can connect. The key is interoperability. So, this is one thing that Ripple XRP has been focused on since the early days, is this right here, this exact thing, interoperability. Silo problem, fiat versus digital. So there's prevailing narratives that the place of traditional banking and crypto assets in opposition, a zero-sum game where one replaces the other. I believe this view is fundamentally flawed. The future isn't about replacement, it's about integration. I don't necessarily agree with this because I do think they're going to replace fiat money with the CBDC. They're just going to call it the same thing. Currently, we have two distinct financial worlds. One side, the fiat world, highly regulated, trusted, but often slow and fragmented by borders. On the other side, and that's what they're going to replace with CBDCs. On the other, the digital asset world, instant, borderless, programmable, yet often volatile, complex for the average user to access. Apparently, I'm not the average user because I don't find it that hard to access. The real challenge and the massive opportunity lies in building the infrastructure that allows these two worlds to speak to each other. We need a financial translator that allows value to move seamlessly from traditional bank account in Europe to a digital wallet in Southeast Asia, instantly converting between fiat and stable coins with the user ever needing to manage private keys or gas fees. I think they meant to say never. Or maybe this was a Freudian slip here. At any rate, connecting three pillars of modern finance. True interoperability means connecting three dominant endpoints where the world keeps its money: banks, mobile wallets, and stablecoin wallets. How about under the mattress? I guess you're not allowed to keep money under the mattress anymore. Banks remain the custodians of trust and the primary on-ramp for the global economy. Mobile wallets have become the de facto bank accounts for billions in emerging wallets, is driving financial inclusion where branches never could. Stablecoin wallets are the new rail, offering speed and most cost-efficient. Traditional systems struggle to match. For too long, the ASP separate ecosystems. A mobile wallet user in the Philippines often couldn't easily receive funds from a stablecoin holder in the U.S., for example, or a bank in London would struggle to make payout with digital asset wallet. We are now breaking down these walls. We are moving forward in a hybrid global payment framework. This future payment might start as a stablecoin across border, instantly settle into a mobile wallet for daily spending. This is an interesting thing. I think one of their targets is to control how much money people have to spend on a daily basis or land in a bank account for long-term savings. The end user doesn't need to understand the blockchain technology underneath. They just need to know their money arrived safely and instantly. Trust is the currency of the future. Well, I don't have much trust in you, WEF. So what does that mean? You're worthless? Oh, yeah. Anyways. However, utility alone is not enough for stablecoins to become a reliable component of the interoperability network. They must address the elephant in the room, trust. Stablecoins only work at scale when they are fully backed, transparent, and regulated. The stable in stablecoin must be a guarantee, not a marketing term. Every digital token must be supported by tangible, high-quality assets the user can verify. Yeah, because we've had such great luck with paper-backed assets in the past, and this is essentially a digital-backed asset, which is not much different than a paper-backed asset. So you really expect us to trust this, huh? The industry must embrace firm reserves and transparent reporting. This is what transforms a risky digital asset into a safe option for everyday payments. When we combine the trust of regulated finance with the speed of digital assets, we create a system that is superior to the sum of its parts. I do not disagree in general, but who are we trusting? Are we really going to trust the WEF? I think they're the ones who want to be the police here. They're the ones who want to regulate and make sure people have, reserves and transparent reporting. Who are they reporting to? I'm assuming the WEF wants everyone to report to them, which requires for us to trust the WEF. And again, I do not trust the WEF. So they've lost me already. Building the bridges. The goal is not to rebuild the financial system from scratch. The goal is to add a rail that moves value faster for more efficiently while preserving the stability and trust that regulated finance provides. At Tunes, we see this convergence happening in real time. We are integrating these worlds because we believe that financial inclusion isn't just about the access to a bank account. It's about access to the global economy. By unifying banks, they want a global economy, don't they? They want the one world government, don't they? By unifying banks, mobile wallets, and stablecoins into one seamless network, we empower financial institutions and remittance operators to give their customers true payment freedom. I don't think there's going to be much freedom in this system, to be honest with you. I think that's a marketing term in their own words. Digital assets are here. The challenge for leaders and regulators and innovators is not to block them, but to integrate them safely. By treating stablecoins as a modern rail for value transfer, we can build a financial system that is not only faster and cheaper, but arguably more resilient and, their favorite word, inclusive than what we have today. Let's stop debating whether digital assets have a role. Let's start building bridges and allow them to serve the real economy. Not a bad argument, not a bad article, with the exception that it is from the WEF. While we're here, let's pop over here and check out what Elon Musk had to say about XRP.
Given how punitive the SEC has been towards crypto under this administration, do you envision the XRP ledger being incorporated into the financial institutions in the future?
Well, I certainly cannot speak to any specific crypto, but
Hold on a second. How many posts have you made about Doge and everything else, and you can't speak on a specific crypto?
I do think that the sort of cryptocurrency is an interesting and probably valuable bulwark against a centralized control.
But we just read the WEF and how they plan on using stable coins as a means so that they can have control.
Definitely not an endorsement or lack of endorsement for XRP, but I do think crypto.
Maybe he's just being careful here because he's had his hands slapped in the past for tweeting and saying things about cryptocurrencies that made them. He even went on Comedy Central and did that bit, and that made Dogecoin jump. And then, I think he's had his hands slapped for that kind of thing before because they consider it him manipulating markets.
By its very nature, it helps with individual freedom.
Okay, so that was kind of interesting. Let's get back into... Let's get back in here.
And this is why we're seeing advancements in, not just cross-border remittance services, but also different types of financial services from many different countries in continents like Africa. BD here posting this. Ripple Custody has launched in Africa, partnering with a major South African bank. This is on the heels of Reese Merrick's
Interesting.
tweet here. Ripple Custody has arrived officially in Africa, guys. Having spent time in South Africa earlier in my career, it holds a special place in my heart. So I'm delighted we're bringing institutional-grade digital asset custody to one of the nation's.
So I got to say, one of the problems that I'm having right now reconciling is that the WEF is calling for a stable coin, and I don't see XRP as a stable coin. It is not attached to a specific unit like a dollar or an ounce of gold, etc. So maybe they have plans to do that, and we're just not aware of it. I guess only time will tell. I will be right back in a minute, everyone.
Leading banks. Guys, Ripple is expanding global custody into Africa with Absa Bank. Ripple, of course, is the leading provider of digital asset infrastructure. And today they just announced, yesterday, they announced a strategic partnership with Absa Bank to provide digital asset custody to the bank's customers in South Africa. Through this partnership, Absa will leverage Ripple's institutional-grade digital asset custody technology to deliver scalable and secure storage for tokenized assets, including cryptocurrencies. Absa is one of Africa's leading financial institutions and becomes Ripple's first major custody partner in Africa. So the partnership is a result of the growing demand for secure,
This is pretty interesting.
compliant digital asset infrastructure across emerging markets. Ripple's expanding global custody network now includes clients across Europe, the Middle East, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Africa, supporting financial institutions as they embrace the opportunities presented by digital asset technologies. So they're really kind of nailing all these regions of the world, all these different continents, and they pretty much, Middle East is not a continent, but they do have a strong presence in many of these continents. I mean, the last one is really North America, and we do have some advancements there too. Here's a quote, guys. Africa is expecting a major shift in how value is stored and exchanged, and our partnership with Absa underscores Ripple's commitment to unlocking the potential of digital assets on the continent. That's coming from Ripple's managing director in the Middle East.
So this is coming from the company themselves, so,
East and Africa. As one of the most respected and innovative banks in Africa, ABSA has a strong track record of innovation and leadership, and we're proud to support its digital asset ambitions with the most secure and compliant custody infrastructure on the market. As regulatory clarity around alternative investments increases across Africa, institutional interest in blockchain-based solutions is rising, and Ripple's infrastructure enables financial institutions like ABSA to confidently explore new digital asset offerings while meeting strict security, operational, and regulatory requirements. So boom goes the dynamite. We are seeing this now occurring in South Africa. This is extending Ripple's existing operation.
But again, I don't see this being a stable coin, and the WEF is specifically calling out stable coin.
On the continent. Of course, we did hear about the Africa-based payment provider Chipper Cash, and they are enabling USD-backed stablecoin RLUSD in Africa. So we already have a foothold in there when it comes to the XRP ledger and implementing RLUSD utilization.
Okay, he just answered the question. So RUSLD would be the stable coin on the Ripple platform.
So that's great news. And even just with regards to this, some more highlights marking institutional-grade digital asset custody entering the African market. So highlights serious intent from major African banks to adopt digital assets. Guys, Ripple is working tooth and nail to really get a lot of this stuff. This is kind of like the last mile, trying to really implement all this stuff and be set up to do this at scale in the coming years.
Now, if they could get China, then that would really turn some heads.
And so, here we're seeing the building blocks. Here we're seeing custody arriving in Africa. And this is just another part of their expansion plan. So wanted to thank Reese Merrick, of course, BD, Bull Dieppe, Smoke, Unknown DLT, Chad Steingraber, and Subjective Views for posting those. Bill Morgan with another interesting tidbit here. Weebus just filed a press release with the SEC, guys. It announces plans to establish a tokenized travel reward exchange platform integrating XRP stablecoin settlements to enhance cross-border reward redemption and value conversion across the loyalty industry. So tokenization, travel rewards, guys. This is the latest here from Weebus. We know Weebus did establish an XRP treasury, although one may readily understand how this will involve integration with the XRPL. There is no mention of the role of XRP itself. Well, we know Weebus is holding XRP. I'm sure it's going to be integrated in this somehow. The announcement identifies the real-world use, so to improve liquidity, transparency, and interoperability between airlines, hotels, and
there's that word again, interoperability.
Reward ecosystems, and it's because this ecosystem is fragmented. $20 billion loyalty management market, and this, running on the XRPL will solve this problem. So Weebus, obviously understanding that there is a problem to be solved here. Grandview Research and Markets.com is part of this, aiming to improve liquidity, transparency, and interoperability, as I mentioned. By combining blockchain-based tokenization with the stability and efficiency of XRP, Weebus seeks to enable travelers to exchange, redeem, and utilize their rewards seamlessly across multiple brands and regions in real time. Here's a quote from their chief executive officer. The global loyalty market is large but highly fragmented. Our goal is to build a unified tokenized reward exchange that unlocks real liquidity and simplifies global redemption. By integrating XRP stablecoin settlement, we aim to bring real-time, low-cost, and transparent value conversion
Weebus
to the travel rewards ecosystem. So you could only imagine what this is going to look like when all of these, think about all the types of travel rewards that do exist, and think of how they're all kind of working in their own ecosystem. Now, think of the possible partnerships some of these companies can have with one another if you're a host.
Looks like Weebus is struggling a little bit at the moment. So they are on the stock exchange. Huh. Interesting. Company profile page. Oh, that's Bloomberg on it. So, something that might warrant a deep dive at a later date.
Hotel brand or an airline or a car rental company, well, you can all work together and make this seamless and interoperable. And, one of these examples is running on the XRP ledger, as Weebus is doing here. So interesting news, guys. Wanted to thank Bill for posting that. And Eleanor Turret bringing this up. Apparently, Larry Fink did just recently do an interview yesterday on CNBC, okay? He said BlackRock is moving away from traditional financial assets and making them digital. So he's finally said it. This is happening. Tokenization. He says we can, if we tokenize an ETF, we can have investors who are just beginning to invest in markets through, let's say, crypto, but now we can get them into more traditional long-term retirement products. I'm going to play you guys this clip.
Yeah, let's see it.
Somebody else posted it here. Nick Gerasi, the CEO of the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, saying this is just the beginning, and we're going to see a heck of a lot more of it in the future.
I do believe we're just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets, from real estate to equities, the bonds, across the board.
All assets.
It's very loud here. Very loud. But it's good. Capital's at work, Larry. You like that.
I love capital at work.
Yeah.
But there's $4.1 trillion of money in globally in digital wallets. A lot of that money is outside the United States. If we could tokenize a ETF, digitize that ETF, we could have investors who are just beginning to, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto.
Right.
They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years, as we start moving away from traditional financial assets by repotting them in a digital manner, and then having people stay in that digital ecosystem. They can have their cash.
They want you in one ecosystem. So lots of promises here. My big takeaway is, again, they want everyone in one ecosystem.
And we have the largest cash money market fund that's tokenized called BITL. Our Bitcoin IBIT is now over $100 billion.
$100 billion, I know, from nothing not that long ago.
And 2 years ago, zero.
Yeah,
So
I know. Well, you weren't always a huge proponent of crypto, as we know.
But
love it now.
But I grow and learn.
I heard you say that on 60 Minutes.
I did say that.
Yeah, I went from thinking crypto was a scam to being a huge proponent in crypto. I don't know why I'm...
Well, good thing I invested in some of this back when he was saying it was a scam.
I'm not surprised about that. Wanted to thank Nick Gerasi for posting that, and of course Eleanor Turret. So as you guys heard here, Larry Fink bullish on crypto. I also wanted to mention this from Whitney Webb. Now, another piece of this is the fact that Larry Fink now does run the World Economic Forum. I'm not going to read this. I'm going to play you guys this clip of Whitney Webb on Glenn Beck's show.
Here comes the Whitney Webb again.
Larry Fink is now running, I believe, the World Economic Forum. He's acting chairman, and in addition to saying that everything, will be tokenized, he's said that everything will soon be on the same universal digital ledger or database.
He did.
And that everything on that database will have a unique identifier number. So for you as an individual, your identifier number will presumably be your digital ID, or directly linked to that. But everything will have a digital ID. The tokenization agenda in particular seeks to tokenize not just assets that we traditionally think of, like real estate, for example, or gold, or physical assets, as well as digital assets like Bitcoin. There's a major effort connected with people like Fink, and also people like Mark Carney, who's now Prime Minister of Canada, to tokenize the natural world and transform it into financial assets. And there was an attempt to do this to an extent under the Biden administration, I believe through the Department of Interior, with natural asset corporations, but that has not gone away. And there are groups, for example, one of the creators of the ETF model originally, which BlackRock now owns, iShares. His name is Peter Knez, I think is how you pronounce it. He's trying to turn the Amazon rainforest into a digital commodity, sort of similar to Bitcoin in terms of like the scarcity idea that each hectare of the Amazon rainforest would represent a token, and then financialize it that way, and then each hectare would then have its unique identifier.
That's scary business
on the blockchain, and would be serviced by surveillance drones and all sorts of stuff. So even our most like natural, the places we conceptualize as the most natural places on Earth, these people want to come in, place surveillance technology and tokenize it and put it on a blockchain and use it to You know, I would argue in the case particularly of natural asset corporations and the group behind it, the Intrinsic Exchange Group, they just want to open up a huge new asset class. They call it nature's opportunity, so that they can continue engaging in the same type of bad behavior that, for example, brought us the 2008 financial crisis. By, you know, quintupling basically the amount of assets currently in play. So apply this now to the.
So you see what I was saying earlier. They're not going to stop at tokenizing just money or exchange value. These people want to tokenize everything, like your car, your house, yourself, your own identity, and even nature. They want to tokenize nature so that they can sell shares of nature. This crazy world we're moving into.
Phrase that we all heard during the COVID era, you'll own nothing and be happy. Well,
Yes.
There's certain people that want to own everything, and that includes things that have never been able to be owned before, that were considered things like the public commons, like rivers, lakes, the ocean itself, natural forests, all sorts of it. These people want to put all of that into the financial system, fractionalize it, tokenize it, and sell pieces of it around. You know, use it to speculate on. I mean, it's very bonkers.
So tokenizing our national parks, could you
This
imagine?
is insane.
There's a pretty crazy claim there from Whitney Webb. I mean, BlackRock is a global investment management company that has a partnership with the World Economic Forum, as probably some of you guys know. And just a few months ago, in August 2025, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink was appointed as the interim co-chair of the WEF, a role that is expected to enhance discussions on global challenges like climate change and inequality. The relationship highlights BlackRock's significant influence in the financial sector and its alignment with the WEF's goals of private-public cooperation and shaping global agendas. And we have Larry Fink, of course, appointed as the co-chairman. This is basically saying the same thing. Private-public cooperation amid global economic shifts. Fink's role is expected to focus on areas like ESG investing and digital assets. So digital assets, of course, playing an important role there, guys. And we know Ripple is part of the World Economic Forum. So when we talk about tokenizing everything on the blockchain, could it be that Whitney Webb has the idea right? We will own nothing. And, you know, it could be that a lot of this will be tokenized on the XRP ledger. Of course, this brings into question XRP price in a speculative market versus a real-world utility market. Today, one XRP is trading for about $2.49. That's going to change once we do see this scale. For now, we trade in spec. Down the road, well, maybe we pivot. And if you guys want to see what I'm doing, you can follow me at patreon.com.
So interesting. That was Working Money Channel. Go check it out. Okie dokie. So now we're going to look at this here. Ex-CIA agent exposes. So this is that CIA guy again. And he's going to talk about Epstein, Charlie Kirk, and Mossad's influence over America. We're taking a little bit of a shift here. We're going to stop talking about money for a minute, and we're going to start looking a little more into how different, global influences are influencing America.
Really to learn how to manipulate people.
Absolutely. Sometimes we want to steal secrets. Sometimes we want to find a way to create sabotage. CIA thinks very much like criminal enterprises because what CIA does is illegal. FBI had mounds of information. CIA had mounds of information. And it wasn't until the buildings came crashing down, thousands of people were dead, Al-Qaeda claimed a massive victory, the world was in panic.
I don't know if I can... I'm going to skip this intro because the music.
Going to hold anything back. Let's see what he has to say. My very special guest, Andrew Bustamante. Well, you know, I have to start off with something, Andrew, that's probably the hottest topic
still have music
of the day, and that is the whole Jeffrey Epstein matter. And all the, talk around him being an operative for the Israelis, an operative for the CIA. Based upon your knowledge and experience, what can you say about that?
So, Epstein's a big topic these days. There's been a lot of theories going around about his involvement, not only with Mossad, but possibly with other clandestine organizations like the CIA, perchance.
It's a great question because I too am just a layperson right now. I only have access to what the government shares with us publicly.
Well, at least he's honest about that.
And my estimate on Jeffrey Epstein has changed over time as new information has come out. And I love that I get to have this conversation with you, because where I land on it currently, based on the available information, is that he was most likely an intelligence asset, but not for any of the normal, typical intelligence categories. He wasn't.
That's interesting, because my take so far was that he was an intelligent asset, but again, not for a specific intelligence organization, but basically a third party that worked for multiple intelligence organizations. So let's see what his take is.
Mossad, he wasn't CIA. He could have been. You can see how there's attractiveness to both, but probability-wise, he was most likely an intelligence source for FBI.
That's an interesting take.
Really?
An FBI CI. And I don't know if you ever came in contact with an FBI officer that tried to approach you with something similar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
CI standing for confidential informant, I believe.
And you already know a CI, a covert informant.
Okay, covert informant
is a protected category of criminal, where the FBI or the judicial department, they know that person's committing crimes. And they're using the crimes that person commits as a leveraging tool, a negotiating tool, to get them to basically narc on larger criminals that are part of their network. So Jeffrey Epstein did some nasty shit, without a doubt.
Yep.
But what FBI is really concerned with isn't crimes of sexual abuse and trafficking and racketeering.
They really should be. Should be a big concern of theirs.
That's not what their primary goal is, because they know racketeering is hard to prove, and they know that sex crimes are a different level of success than, say, conspiratorial or corrupt politicians. And Epstein was connected.
It's really unfortunate that the sex crimes are, especially when you're involving children. The Lord in the good book has some things to say about that. I'm going to look that up while we continue a little bit. Here's one. Matthew 18:10. Bring this down for you. See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. Do not despise one of these little ones. Jesus says, let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for such belongs to the kingdom of heaven. Let the children come to me, do not hinder them, for such belongs to the kingdom of God. Truly I say unto you, whosoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child shall not enter it. So, there's a lot of verses. I'm going to find the one I'm looking for here in a minute. So I'm going to let this play while I do.
To so many corrupt politicians, not just in the U.S., but abroad, it makes complete sense that FBI would have approached him. FBI would have said, you're doing terrible things.
Right.
We could send you to jail. Or
you
can agree to collaborate with us. We will carve out your current crimes. You won't be held criminally liable for those crimes that you commit in support of our larger operation. That's where my predominant theory is taking me now.
Wow. I've never heard that before. I never thought of it, but I recently did a piece.
It makes a lot of sense,
the FBI's, I would say, negligence when they found out that he was dead. Their offices are right across the street from the prison, from the jail, I would say, because I was in that jail. I know, right? It took them 7 hours to get to the crime scene.
Here's one right here. Matthew 18:2-6. And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, Truly I say unto you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. Do not bring children to sin. This is a big thing, and we need to take it more seriously, way more seriously.
The FBI, 7 hours. And I said, why? You know, they would have been called immediately, I would assume, by the Bureau of Prisons, and yet they took that long.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there is something. Are you of the belief that he definitely wasn't CIA or Mossad?
I don't have a definite opinion. CIA teaches us to look at everything through probabilities. You know, one of the things that I really like about ever getting to sit down with former criminals, current criminals, convicted criminals, we think very much alike. CIA thinks very much like criminal enterprises because what CIA does is illegal. We're just protected. We're a protected category under American law where we're allowed to commit espionage if it's against foreign targets and it benefits national security. If it doesn't do both of those things, it's still illegal for us too. So we're trained systematically to think the way criminals learn to think through life on the streets, through the school of hard knocks, through on-the-job training. So we look at everything through probabilities. There's no guarantee of anything in life, but you can take certain steps and make certain actions and assess certain.
Here's another one that's very similar. Luke 17:2. It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were cast into the sea than that he should cause one of these little ones to sin.
Information to determine when is the right time to have the most likely success and the least chance of failure. That is 100% how criminals think. That's not how the average person thinks. The average person wants guarantees. The average person doesn't take action because there is no guarantee of success. Criminals take action all the time based on probabilities of success, based on a mix of controllable and uncontrollable inputs.
That's an interesting take. I think there's some value to that.
That's how CIA teaches us to think. So that's why when I look at this Epstein case, there's no guarantee he wasn't CIA. But of the three predominant theories, FBI, CIA, foreign intelligence source, or known CIA recruited asset, the CIA asset piece is the lowest probability, where the other two are much higher.
Interesting.
Wow. You know, and I do know, obviously, you know, the FBI comes to the rescue of their informants, no doubt about it. But, you know, wouldn't we have seen cases built upon his information? But then again, how would we know that? Yeah, how would we know that?
And what FBI is the most, and the reason I really feel
this is pretty interesting.
Like this theory carries the most weight, most gravitas, is because it would, the pomp and circumstance where the president, who sits in the executive branch, continues to say, release the files, you know, let the House vote on the files.
I've been wondering about this because, you know, the president keeps saying release, 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 and then yet we get so little.
It's all it's a show. It's stage theater because the executive knows he has the power over the judicial branch, but the people don't know that. So he can say, hey, Congress, part of the legislative branch, you have to do this thing that forces the judicial branch to take action, even though he knows he could do it too. And then that puts all the pressure on Congress. And even if Congress votes to have the files released, the Justice Department still gets to determine what gets released.
And that's what we've been seeing.
Redacted.
That's what we've been seeing because he'll say, you know, they have to be released. We even had Congress and passed the law. He signed it. And then the Justice Department turned around and limited what they released big time. Not only did they redact it, but they didn't even release it all.
Whether 100 files are there and 100 files are released or only 95 files are released. Because to your exact point, the the details of what's in there and the accusations that will spread from that throughout our government, whether it's the president or a congressman or a state governor or a professional athlete, that's all going to fall under different jurisprudence within the Justice Department to decide whether or not it gets released to the public. This
is interesting. Although I don't think we can watch all this because the music's going to trigger, and they're going to mute my stuff. They're going to decide I'm bad because I had music. Anyways, so we're going to move on here. So here's someone, Nate Friedman. Friedman? I think it's Friedman. Anyways, correct me if I'm wrong. So he's going to, I believe he's in Manhattan, to ask the Iranians what they think about the current uprising. And so, yeah, we're gonna check this out.
They shut the internet down. This is the time when they start killing everybody, start shooting everyone down, and there's nobody that could hear us.
What would you like to see Trump do next right now?
I hope he bombs the shit out of them.
We're outside this Free Iran protest in New York City. Let's interview some people. What makes you protest out here today?
So I have a lot of family in Iran, and there's people are struggling to live right now, and
This guy doesn't want his face shown, and I don't blame him. He shows his face. If they can identify him, they might target his family.
They've been, unfortunately, suppressed by their government for many years now after the revolution, and people are just tired. They want to live good lives. They want to live happy. They don't want to have to work a month and be able to pay for half a lunch.
Oh,
I've
man.
supported my people my whole life. My parents are from there. I was born here, so I'm like second generation. But at the same time, I've been there many times to see how people live there and how they wish they could have lives like Americans here.
And why can't they live happily there? What's wrong with what's happening in Iran?
There are no civil liberties there. Women are forced to wear hijabs. Men have to have a certain.
And I'm saying if the WEF has their way, we're not going to have any civil liberties left anywhere.
Hairstyle, and they can't have, they can't be having like Western trends in a sense. There's no freedom at all there. People can't party, they can't play music, television is censored. They're not allowed to say certain things that are more like open. I mean, we're in 2026, they're living like they're in the 1800s.
Is your family that's there now, are they protesting?
Most likely, for the most part. A lot of my family, they come from merchants, but most of the merchants have protested by shutting down their shops.
And you can't contact them now because of the blackout?
Absolutely not. Yeah, the internet is shut down.
Internet's shut down.
Yeah, internet is shut down in Iran, and it sucks, because it's like people just want to be free.
All right, so we got more of the protests here. You can see the flag is.
So I do believe Iran is on the 15th day now. We're on the 15th day of the protest, and still going strong as far as we know. They have had the internet shut down for about 3 days now, I believe, and so it's a little tough to get information out of Iran, although there is a YouTube channel that appears to be getting some out, so we might check that out later.
Featuring the lion, the old Iranian flag.
They call it the old Iranian flag. I think that is the true Iranian flag and will be the new Iranian flag, and that one that existed in the middle is just going to get forgotten to history if all goes well.
My name's Nate Friedman. I'm an independent journalist. Can I interview you? Can I interview you? Huh? Can I interview you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Don't.
I'm ready.
Oh, here we got a crazy liberal.
Are you streaming, bitch?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
She's trying to mess up his stream. Oh man.
Okay, she's flashing.
Get out of here. Look at my titties. Get out of here.
Oh my
this
goodness.
Woman is, flashing her boobs at me constantly.
Let's see if the police do anything about it.
Just push it away if she goes.
Wait, why do I have to leave? I'm
public.
You're part of the protest? Yes, I am. He's not part of the protest. He's an agitator. He says that Antifa's paid protesters.
Okay, because they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have evidence that, pretty sure we have evidence that, well, not everyone, but a lot of people in the Antifa organization are paid. And I mean, who wants to see that girl's hooters anyways? I don't. I mean, ugh.
Are you gonna?
She's got her gut hanging out. I mean, come on. At least take care of yourself. If you're gonna be going flashing your hooters around, at least take care of yourself.
Arrest her for public indecency?
No, we'll take care of it.
You're gonna take care of it? All right.
So this is why the live stream isn't available on YouTube. This
Oh.
woman's strategy is to get people like me banned off of social media. She's been arrested multiple times, even exposing herself to children at a Trump rally in 2020.
Oh my
One of the times
goodness.
that she was arrested, she was taken into a mental
There we go
institution.
again. Weren't we just talking about this? Oh, yeah. Suffer the children, man. Do not bring children to sin.
In her bio, she says that she only takes paid work. She's the exact same woman who harassed Nick Shirley and tried to get him banned. What she's doing here is public indecency and sexual harassment, and yet this is how the police acted.
What are you doing? Just get out of here. Let's go talk to these policemen and see if literally anything happens.
No.
Can we arrest her because she's
Do they
flashing
care?
her chest at me and all the people? So
Look, they don't even talk to him.
So
Useless.
We're not gonna do anything.
What? Useless.
I want an interview, Nate.
Useless police.
Nate, can I get an interview, please? I want to be on your stream. Can I be on your stream? I'm not touching him. Nate, can I be on your stream?
Oh, let's do a little research.
You a troll, right?
You guys are not gonna do anything?
No, you're not gonna do shit.
Flashing your chest?
Yeah, no.
It's public indecency. You're not
Ha
gonna...
ha, Nate. Ha ha. Ha ha, Nate. You're a fucking loser, Nate.
So she's literally breaking the law.
Yeah, Nate. Yeah, Nate.
Yeah, they don't care.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they're fucking serious. Yeah.
This is New York. They don't care if you break the law, apparently.
Go tell Trump because he's viral.
Maybe their new mayor likes this. I don't know.
Come on, Nate. I'm a paid protester.
Why are you guys policemen? If
She just said she's a paid protester. She just admitted it.
you're not gonna arrest people that are breaking the law.
Because you're white, you think you have power. You, it's a black woman's world. Do something, Nate. My tits are out. But I'm a paid protester. I want an interview.
They won't do anything about it. These police are useless.
Can I get your guys' badge numbers?
Yeah, get it.
Genuinely insane.
Yeah, it is insane. Just like
It's
I'm
what?
a paid protester.
It's what? Can you say
I
it
want to
again?
be on your stream.
Okay. And why aren't you doing anything about this?
Cause she don't work. Cause she my bitch. Come on, Nate. Your white privilege isn't working. Are you fucking serious?
All right. What brings you out to protest today? You can come around.
I came here to support my Iranian friends. We're very excited. This might be a major turning point in world history where
Yes.
the IRGC, the Ayatollah are going to fall. This is a game changer for the Middle East and for the world. And what
Amen.
Trump just did in Venezuela, it's like this is a chess match that seems like if they fall, it's checkmate, and Israel is going to flourish.
Do you want the U.S. to do the same thing in Iran as they did in Venezuela?
I don't think they have to. I think the momentum.
I don't know as they can. Venezuela, the dude was sure he was in a military compound in a house, basically, as I understand it. And my understanding is in Iran, he is in a bunker. So getting into a bunker is a little different than just cutting through a steel door and getting into a house, I would assume. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I just don't feel like it would be the same operation at all.
Is on its way. I mean, if you read the tea leaves, you see what's happening, and the people that I'm contacting, my friends who have family and friends on the streets in Iran, are saying this might be the moment. It seems that they've got the upper hand.
This might
It
be the
seems
moment.
Momentum is on their way. So
Let's pray for the people in Iran because I think this might be their moment.
it looks like it could happen. It's very close.
And what are they telling you on the ground? What are they seeing? Are they sending you?
You know, a lot of the Western media refuse to admit that the current regime in Iran is extremist, Islamic, and they rule through religious fear. And a lot of the Western media will not touch that with a 10-foot pole because I do think they're afraid that they've gone and let so many of these extremists into their own countries, including the U.S., that a lot of politicians are afraid that if they speak out against it, that they, they'll be in trouble with their constituents, which are now extremists, which is ridiculous. We need to get the extremists out. That includes extremists for Islam. That includes extremists for white supremacy. That includes extremists for the liberals. Like this lady who keeps yelling and flashing her hooters, that I think includes her. We need to denounce all of this extreme behavior, and we need to come together.
Videos, I know there's no internet now, but what were they doing before?
Unfortunately, I've been unable to.
Remember, Jesus, preaches a lot of unity kind of themes. He's here to bring everyone together, not to separate everyone apart.
Get videos sent to me. We've tried, but the people that I've spoken to who have family and friends and relatives on the ground have been saying that it just feels and it seems that the actual tide is turning, and that the authority, in fact, many local police and regional intelligence officers and leaders are turning, either covertly or overtly, either throwing off their uniform and helping the protesters. So this could be it.
Yeah. Here we go, right here. 1 Corinthians 1:10. I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all you agree, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same judgment. 1 Peter 3:8. Finally, all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. Couple verses from the New Testament from you.
We have to live with crackheads now. Yeah. This is Mondani's crackheads.
So the most recent events in Iran that caused the internet to shut down, I think this is the last time, what actually people are saying, this is the last time people are going out. This is going to be the time where we're bringing Shah Pahlavi to Iran. Hopefully this is the last time. I've been going through this for decades. I was born in Iran. I moved out when I was 18. Our entire life we've been subjugated by brutal regime repression in Iran.
Wow.
It's just been, we just had enough of it.
We've had enough of it.
Yesterday I heard
they have had enough of it.
My cousin's best friend just got shot in Shiraz.
Oh no.
They shut the internet down. This is the time when they start killing everybody, start shooting everyone down, and there's nobody that could hear us, and there's no internet to have access. So I think,
fortunately, there are some Starlinks still active, and there are people getting some footage out via Starlink. Thank you to Elon Musk.
This is just the beginning of the protests in New York, and we're going to keep going.
Yeah. What do you think was the tipping point? Why is now the time that this is happening?
I think this wasn't just one event in a vacuum. I believe it was economic pressure. Most recently, the inflation in Iran has caused people to just not have any money to live normal lives anymore. And just one trigger caused everybody to go out, and it's just been the biggest I've ever seen, maybe ever.
So these are the kind of sentiments coming off the street. And, the Western media, they're going to sit here and tell you that a lot of things that aren't true. Okay, so trust the people. Don't be listening to the Western media all the time. Not anymore. Oh, President Trump speaks to reporters aboard Air Force One. Let's hear what our president has to say.
President Trump made just a short time ago.
It's going to be very rough in about 10 minutes, so we'll have to go a little bit quickly. They just said very, very rough.
She asked if Iran has crossed a red line yet.
Oh, no, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence.
Yep.
But we're looking at it very seriously. The military's looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
As long as he's bringing peace, I'm in support of it.
But why would I tell you that?
She asked what options are you? And he says, why would I tell you that?
Am I going to really, are you asking me to say what will they do, where will we attack, when, and at what angle will we attack from? Who are you with?
I'm with the U.S. White House TV pool. I'm wondering, are you being briefed on...
What network are you with?
I'm with CNN, sir.
Uh-oh.
Why don't you just say I'm with CNN?
Because she doesn't want to say it. She doesn't want to say she's with CNN because she knows you can't stand CNN, sir.
The White House pool. And I say, what? You with CNN? You're with fake news. 'Cause CNN is fake news. Go ahead, give me a question.
Can I ask how you're balancing and how you're deciding your response, the balance between hoping protesters versus hindering them? Because I imagine that's delicate balance.
Protesters versus... I have a hard time understanding what these reporters are saying.
I mean, some of the protesters were killed through the stampeding. I mean, there's so many of them.
So I think she's asking, whether these people who have been killed by the regime or by... And he's saying, some of them have been killed by stampede, possibly.
And some were shot.
Some were shot.
We're getting an hourly report. And
Hourly?
Make a determination. Yeah, go ahead. Well, no, people have been shot, and we're looking at it. Yeah, please.
Are they going to go to Venezuela, or is Secretary Rubio going to go to Venezuela?
Go at some point, yeah.
He's going to go.
We're doing well.
He's going to go.
It's really working out well. We're working along really well with the leadership, and we'll see how it all works out.
Is there like a meeting with Delphi to go?
At some point I'll meet. Yeah, she's been very good. Look, she asked us, can we take 50 million barrels of oil? And I said, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
$4.2 billion. And it's on its way right now to the United States.
Interesting.
I'm looking for something to grab here. It's going to get rough, and I don't seem to be in a I think you did this.
They're in the air.
You put me in a position where there's absolutely nothing to grab. So I'm looking for something to grab, and it's not going to be Caroline. A lot of them, yeah.
How many oil companies?
Well, I don't want to say. No, I didn't like Exxon's response. We have so many that want it. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out.
Oh.
I didn't like their response.
Oh, that's kind of harsh.
They're playing too
He does not like Exxon.
cute.
What kind of backstops or guarantees?
They're going to be safe. That,
Oh, they're asking what backstops or guarantees do they have that I guess the oil companies will be safe.
There'll be no problem, and there won't be. There's not going to be a problem. They had problems in the past because they didn't have Trump as a president. They're stupid people.
Ouch. What kind of deal is he looking for?
You're going to find out pretty soon. We're talking to Cuba.
From
And
Cuba.
You'll find out pretty soon. And one of the things I want taken care of, and one of the groups I want taken care of, are the people that came from Cuba that were forced out or left under duress, and they're great citizens of the United States right now.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, there's some really amazing Cuban people out there. I gotta say.
A lot of people forced out of Cuba unfairly, so we're going to take care of, most importantly right now, we're going to take care of the people that came from Cuba that are American citizens or in our country.
Yeah, that's pretty America first. I dig. Are you gonna seize any more oil tankers?
Well, we have a lot of oil people really interested. You saw that the other day. That was a small group because the room in the White House, we need the ballroom, actually. We could have filled up the ballroom practically. We have so many people that want to go in for oil.
Yeah.
So you saw some great companies.
He just avoided that question completely. Are you going to send Starlink to Iran? They already have Starlink. These Western media people are just so... I mean, how are they so uninformed? How are they so uninformed? I guess they just refuse to watch any independent journalism, so they just don't know what's going on in the world anymore.
Well, we're gonna be talking about that. We may get the internet going, if that's possible. We may speak to Elon, because as you know, he's very good at that kind of thing. He's got a very good company. So we may speak to Elon Musk. And in fact, I'm going to call him as soon as I'm finished with you.
In other words, like we were saying, it's not the government's place to step in and force a private company. Fortunately, we have someone like Elon who is willing to utilize his private company to, enhance communications around the globe. And so why don't we count our blessings instead of trying to force the U.S. government to do our bidding?
Said that they would consider military and commercial bases as legitimate targets if you struck. Are you concerned
Why would they do that?
She's asking, the regime in Iran has said that they would consider U.S. military bases as targets if the U.S. intervenes.
That will consider things targets they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. They won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong.
After what's been coming out of Venezuela, the reports from the ground, I think he's not bluffing here.
So I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Do you think Iran takes your threats seriously?
I think so. Don't you think so? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years.
Did she really ask him if they take his threats seriously?
Years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out. Don't you think that you just had Venezuela? Don't you think, she says, CNN, you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question.
Oh, man. What a stupid question, he says. Oh, he's just not holding back, is he? He never's been one to hold back, but he's all out now.
I am, yeah.
Meeting with allies on the response. Yes.
I don't know.
When are you going to meet with Machado?
Oh. Tuesday or Wednesday. I look forward to that.
Okay, good. Soon.
Well, we have a board of peace that's being formed, but essentially it's the
She's asking about peace for Gaza.
most important leaders of the most important nations. All nations, but the most important, you take the most important leaders and nations, that's who the board of peace is going to be. Everybody.
So, Board of Peace for Gaza will be the leaders of the most important nations, whatever that means.
Wants to be on it. Who are you with?
Why are they not taking your threat seriously, she says.
Well, I like the New York.
He likes the New York press.
New York Post treats me semi-fairly.
New York Post.
So go ahead. On where? Military action?
Oh, Greenland. She's talking. So now they're asking if Denmark is taking his threat seriously on Greenland. This will be interesting.
Look, if we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will.
Also, I think he's got a point there.
And I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland. And I am not going to let that happen. Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them.
Yeah. Sell it to us.
But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
Man, they'd be smart to just sell it to us. I think a better solution would be let the people of Greenland come over on their own accord. She's asking, is it okay if that compromises NATO? And I bet he's going to say, who the heck cares about NATO?
Well, I think I've done a great job. I'm the one that saved NATO. I'm the one that got him to pay 5% of GDP. Wait a minute.
it was 2%, and they didn't pay. Now they're paying 5%. I'm the one that saved NATO. You wouldn't have NATO if I weren't president.
If you pull the U.S. out of NATO, would you consider doing that?
Well, maybe NATO would be upset if I did it. Maybe NATO would save a lot of money.
We'd save a lot of money.
I just wonder whether or not, if we needed NATO, would they be there for us?
That's a good question. Given what's been going on in Europe lately, I have a feeling, and the WEF and all these other things, I have a feeling that if we were in trouble, NATO would not come to help us. And I'm not even sure if they have the military might to come help us.
I'm not sure they would. You know, we spend a lot of money on NATO, and I'm not sure they would.
But what would you say?
Now, what's happened is, as you know, Sleepy Joe Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine, and got nothing for it. I got rare earth back. I got, I think, value back far greater than that. And that's what he should have done. Now, if you look at what's going on with respect to NATO, we have a very good relationship. 5% GDP, and they pay us. We send them military equipment, and they pay us back the full cost of the equipment. The war,
yeah, that's good.
We make money with the war, but I don't even want to talk about that.
We shouldn't even be at war.
They're Russian and Ukrainian lives.
That's right. We should, I mean, yeah. I'm not a fan of war.
I want to save the lives. That's the only reason I'm doing it. This is Biden's war. Should have never happened. Would have never happened if I were president. This is Biden's war. It's not Trump's war. All I can do is stop it. And I think we're making progress towards.
Oh, look at these. Look at her smile. She is so happy about this.
Stopping it, which would be number 9.25. You know what the quarter is, right?
Oh, here he goes again.
Thailand and Cambodia went at it again, but I got it stopped very quick. I consider that 1/4.
I consider it 1/4 of a war.
No, I'm not. I haven't done that, but Greenland should make the deal because Greenland does not want to see
That's
Russia
right.
or China take
Greenland should make the
They don't
deal.
go there. It's very far away from Greenland. And Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds.
2 dog sleds is their defense, he says.
Russian destroyers and submarines, and China destroyers and submarines all over the place. We're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And if it affects NATO, then it affects NATO. But, you know, they
Too
need
bad.
much more than we need them. I will tell you that right
Who
now.
cares?
That's a war that should have never happened with Ukraine.
The UK and Germany are discussing plans for a joint NATO mission.
The UK and Germany are discussing plans for a joint NATO mission to protect Greenland.
Look, we're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring.
Huh.
And if we don't do it, Russia or China will, and that's not going to happen when I'm president.
Are you going to increase the amount of military bases on Greenland in the meantime?
Well, we have
He's asking, are you going to increase the amount of military bases on Greenland?
bases on Greenland. Yeah.
We have them. Are you going to increase
Put
them?
a lot of soldiers there right now if I want, but you need more than that. You need ownership. You really have. You really need title, as they say in the real estate.
In Minneapolis, your administration has advocated for absolute immunity for the ICE officer.
Okay, she's saying in the Minneapolis, the administration is advocating for immunity for the officer who shot Renee. How do you define absolute immunity?
The woman was very violent. She's a very radical person. Very sad what happened. Her friend was very radical. Go or drive, and well, I'm going to
She keeps asking how you define absolute immunity. I mean, come on.
let the people define it. But
Let the people.
immunity, you know what immunity means as well as I do. But people can't be treating law enforcement that way, whether it's ICE or Border Patrol or our police. And
I agree.
Women, you can't do that.
You can't do
We
that.
have, the law enforcement in our country is doing really well, despite the fact that Sleepy Joe Biden allowed people to pour through an open border. Crime stats just came out. We have the best crime stats on record, despite all the criminals he allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out.
Yep.
We have to respect them.
Haven't there like 2 million or so left on their own volition?
Our law enforcement, at a very minimum, that woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. And you heard the same noises, you saw the same crunch that I saw. You can't do that with law enforcement. Whether
Yeah, that's beyond disrespectful. Like, if you look at all the different angles, it's pretty undeniable that she hit him with her car.
it's police or ICE or Border Patrol or anybody else.
When it comes to ICE officials,
Yeah.
so, Mr. Witten, well, just to clarify on the absolute immunity, do you believe ICE officers should have absolute immunity?
Well, no.
She's asking if he believes an ICE officer should have absolute immunity across the board.
If somebody is obviously crazy and does something wrong, no. But generally speaking, I mean, these people have been harassed. They're threatened every day. They had bands out playing so they couldn't sleep at the hotel. I see what they're doing to them.
Yeah.
They're threatening them constantly.
It's
and
true.
What they're doing is doing what I got elected on. We had millions of people that came into our country that are horrible people that shouldn't be in our country. They're murderers, they're drug dealers, they're people from mental institutions, they're the criminally insane, they're people from prisons. They were allowed to come into our country because Biden was a stupid person and the people surrounding him, very smart, very vicious, but they have no common sense and they're radicalized people.
Yeah, I think there's a valid point here. You know, I really don't think that the Biden administration was run by Biden. I just feel like everything in me says that the administration was doing things that Biden was unaware of and was taking advantage of the situation, and that should have never happened. And yeah, we should be looking more into that.
Radical left people, not radical right. They're radical left people. And all they're doing is what I campaigned on. I won in a landslide. We won all 7 swings.
And they keep saying that this isn't democracy, but he's got a point here. He won the vote. This is a democratic republic, and this is what a democratic republic looks like.
States, we won the popular vote, we won the districts, we won everything.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This is what a democratic republic looks like. Just because you or someone else, just because you may not like what's going on in a current administration, doesn't mean that it's not a democratic republic. You know, this man was voted in office.
We won the counties. We won the counties by 79%, I believe.
He was voted in office, and if you don't like it, wait. Vote next time.
I campaigned on a great border, and now we have a great border.
Amen.
But Biden let 25 million people come into this country, and many of those people are criminals, including 11,888 murderers. And we want them out. And I won on that. Now people don't talk about it because the border is so secure, nobody wants to talk about it.
He's right. No one is talking about the border.
But the border was one of the reasons I won the election. I've done such a good job on it that nobody wants to talk about it anymore.
I wonder if that's going to hurt the Republicans' chances in this current primary that's this midterm election that's coming up.
The border is totally secure. And now the crime stats just came out, and they're the best numbers since they were taken, and that's like 50 years ago. We have the best crime numbers, despite the fact that a lot of criminals were allowed into our country.
It is pretty interesting.
We have to respect our law enforcement.
Do you believe that deadly force was necessary after watching all the footage?
She's asking if he believes deadly force was necessary after watching all the footage. This ought to be interesting.
Days have passed. What's your assessment there?
It was highly disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful.
He's being very careful here. I noticed that immediately preceding the event, people on both sides of the aisle were making statements as if the trial had already happened and we already had all the facts. And that was a little annoying to me. But I say he's being very careful here. This is much more measured and wise response.
Of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing, they were following for days and for hours.
This is all hard to dispute. It's all based in fact.
And I think, frankly, they're They're professional agitators. And I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out who's paying for it, with their brand new signs and all the different things. But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous. I'm going to be making a trip to Detroit to talk about our unbelievable amount of factories that are opening up all over the country, many of which are car factories.
Nice.
And car plants. We have manufacturing.
I wonder when that's happening.
Up at levels that nobody's ever seen before because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, you wouldn't have them opening, although they were very happy with the November 5th election.
Yep.
But we have from Canada they're coming, from Mexico they're coming, from Germany, from Japan, from all over Europe, and from Japan, other places, and from China.
I think he said Japan twice.
They're opening up car factories, car manufacturing plants at levels that we've never seen before. So I'm going to Detroit because they're going to be opening up plants in Detroit or redoing plants, but they're really ripping down old plants and building new. We're the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. I mean, think of it. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Yeah, he keeps saying this. She's talking about the ACA healthcare thing that just passed in the Senate, and she's asking if it passed in the House. If it passes in the Senate, will he veto it?
I might, yeah. I might.
Oh, he might.
Do you have any information about the suspicious object that was found at Palm Beach International Airport?
No.
Any information about a specific object found at airport? No.
I know nothing about it.
I know nothing.
Back on Iran, the Ayatollah said that he thinks that the protesters are trying to, quote, please you. Do you see it?
So she's asking the Ayatollah, who I don't think anyone can trust, says that the protesters are trying to tease him into action.
That way, what's your message to the Iranian people?
I don't know that they're trying to push me. They named a boulevard after me, but
They did that. They named a boulevard after him.
it's pretty pleasing. But I don't think they're trying to play. I think they just want peace. They want to have freedom.
Amen.
The protesters are after freedom. Iran has not allowed freedom for a long time. And the protesters, I don't think they're trying to appease me. They're trying to get somebody to help them. They're under siege. And now it looks like they're being shot, which is a very bad thing. Yeah.
I couldn't hear that one.
Yeah. You're going to find out pretty soon.
You're going to find out.
Yeah, go ahead. With the beautiful red hair.
Oh, now they're asking about a movie premiere? Come on.
8 pieces of it. It's incredible, I tell you. I think it's going to do, she did a book, and the book was a big #1 bestseller, and this is a movie, and it seems to be captivating a lot of people's attention. It's very good. Because here we go again. Yeah, it's going to be doing the premiere at the Trump Kennedy Center.
Okay, they're premiering it.
Exciting. It's a very hard ticket, I can tell you. Everybody, Wayne Gretzky and his wife Janet, beautiful wife, great wife. They said last night, "Gee, I want to go to." A lot of everybody wants tickets. To
Interesting.
The premiere. I think it's going to be great. On the what? Mortgage? No, they're
Mortgage buyback purchases, I think she said.
already doing it.
Already doing it.
They started the process, and it's having a great impact. Interest rates are falling very rapidly.
Interesting.
Not only for that reason, for other reasons.
So this pertains to everything we've been looking at today right here.
But interest rates are falling very rapidly.
They're trying to kick the ball down the road.
With no help from the Fed.
In
Total stiff at the Fed.
fact, they're indicting the Fed.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to talk about the. She's talking about this 10% cap on credit card interest that he's proposing, and if it's going to be implemented by a date in January.
Then they're in violation of the law.
Oh, so if they don't, then they're in violation of the law, he says.
Very severe things. No, I want a cap on credit card interest rates because, you know, some of them are 28, almost 30%.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know they're paying 30%.
Although they should, because it's always, they're required to send you that documentation to show you what rate you're paying.
The people out there, you know, they're working and they have no idea that they're paying 30%. No way. We're putting a 1-year cap at 10%, and that's it. They know.
It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
They've really abused the public. The credit card companies have totally abused it. I'm not going to let it happen.
It's true.
With Iran?
Yeah, do you think they want to engage diplomatically?
They do.
They're asking if Iran wants to engage diplomatically.
Called
Of course they do.
yesterday. Iran called to negotiate.
It shouldn't be an option at this point. Do not negotiate.
Yesterday, the leaders of Iran called. They want to negotiate. I think they're tired of being beat up by the United States. Iran wants to negotiate, yes. We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up.
Interesting.
We may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. But a meeting is being set up. Iran called. They want to negotiate. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'm all for the Iranian people right now in this conflict, so yeah, I don't know. So what's going on in the Senate? We're going to have to check this out later because it's that time when I'm going to have to sign off. So everyone, thanks for hanging out, and I'm going to be signing off here, and we will pick this up later. Have a good night.